I'm feeling a little extra patriarchal today. Maybe it's because it's Patriarchy Appreciation Day, Andrew.
Might be. I can understand why that would be the case.
I hope you all left out your patriarch gifts last night for Santa. Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show here on 1210 WPHT, 855-839-1210. I'm going to slap a giant trigger warning on tonight's program because tonight, in part, we got a lot of things to cover, as we always do, but it will be a celebration of masculinity. We know that your old pal Matt is one of your favorite masculine figures, both in politics and also generally across our culture. So you won't be surprised to know that that's a theme of tonight's show here on the station. But the war on men is real in our society, and I have a couple of examples for you. So as a father, as a proud American male, as someone that, I know it's kind of hokey in 2024, believes in the gender binary, we're going to lean into it tonight just a little bit. And happy Father's Day to you, by the way, Andrew, because you're a fellow papa.
Yes, I am.
You have two little ones.
Two little ones. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. And yours were not conceived by the Force, correct?
As far as I know.
As far as you know. I mean, you may or may not remember how it happened, and we don't need to get into that. It's extremely personal.
That's fine.
Yes, I know you. I figured you would be good with that. But I have a story here tonight in the stack about how Disney.
Oh my gosh!
Do you know what I'm about to say?
You better continue before I say something.
Well, we know that the mouse has gone to the dark side in recent years, right? No secret that the Disney Corporation is leading to steal one from the great Mr. Bork, Judge Bork. We're leading our slouching towards Gamora. Now Disney has yet another Star Wars series out. And I thought this story was just so perfect for Father's Day. They have another Star Wars series out. It's, I think, about the 30th Star Wars spinoff, if you're keeping track, over the course of the past few years. It's hard to keep track at this point.
It's there. And you could even tie it into like the Marvel stuff and so many other things that they're trying to do. They have really embraced and embodied the old saying of quantity over quality in the worst way possible.
The worst possible.
It's horrendous.
It is.
And you talk about like 30 different shows over the last number of years since Disney Plus came out. You could probably count on one hand how many good ones there have been.
And occasionally they stumble across something by accident that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like they had the little tiny mini Yoda.
Yeah, Baby Yoda, the Mandalorian.
Yoda, Grogu, yeah.
Some good stuff. And
I was kind of sort of getting into that. I was willing to give that a chance. And then they had some other show that you had to watch in order to find out what happened between the last season of The Mandalorian and the most recent season of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, you're not going to do that to me. I'm not going to be tricked or forced or in any way coerced into watching more shows than I want to.
Yeah.
You should be able to get all the context you want for a series.
It's good marketing, though.
From that series. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the ratings, right?
Well, I mean, they're trying to get people to stick around and watch the show and all that stuff. So I think they know what they're doing. So
they think so.
Yeah.
They think so.
Right.
I'm not so sure. This latest one, The Acolyte, which I want to talk a little bit about this evening, since this is the Father's Day edition of the Matt Rooney Show. It's taken wokeness not just off the planet, but out of this galaxy, which is appropriate given the topic matter. But before we get into anything that we're going to chat about tonight, let's run through the important, vital information and the ground rules, as we always do here in the Matt Rooney Show. Again, 855-839-1210 is the number. If you want to call in and participate, you're welcome to do so. If you want to fight with me, argue with me, disagree with me, and you can do so in an intelligent, coherent way, you may very well get pushed to the front of the line. If not, there's nothing I can do for you, right? We're not holding you up artificially on this program. We do not have caller affirmative action. If you are not living up to the standards that we expect, you're not going to be given a free pass here. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it works in the real world. Don't cry about it. Put on your big boy or your big girl pants. You can also head over to YouTube, youtube.com/@ 1210 WPHT. That's where you can confirm that I am indeed as handsome as I sound. You can also participate in the comments where things may or may not get a little salty. They very often do. And I see some people are already over there saying hello. Suze loves Jeffy saying hi, happy Father's Day. Mangle Mush is complaining we have the wrong date up. Yeah, I mean, June 14th is Friday's date, but it's appropriate in a way because we are taking you through the week gone by to prepare you for the week ahead. So among friends, let's not quibble about little things like date accuracy. Joe Biden can't even tell you which decade he's in, so great on a curve. You can also head over to Twitter. My handle's Matt Rooney NJ if you want to interact with me during the program. There's a bunch of different ways to get it done. We do have one of our favorite guests on this evening, the return of Dr. Jonathan Lesser. I always say he's kind of like Bill Nye, but not an idiot. He always dissects the latest green energy nonsense, government's attempt to push technologies on us that may or may not make sense, but invariably cost you money despite a glaring lack of return on your dollar. And this is always the key, not having any real impact on saving the planet. That's the purported reason for embracing all of these green technologies, that it's supposed to save Mother Gaia from being destroyed by evil humans. These man-children that populate the left, they read that book, The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, when they were kids, and they took it literally, right? Like they thought that really, unless we save the planet in the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from these evil industrialists, that somehow we're just going to burn up and the planet won't be here for our children, our grandchildren, or even for us. It's gotten to the point, actually, where it's gotten so kooky. I've read articles in recent months about Gen Zers that don't even want to have kids because they're convinced that climate Armageddon is right around the corner. So, I mean, maybe we shouldn't lean too hard into combating this stuff, because if it's preventing dumb people from having children, I guess there's some silver lining there, Andrew, right?
Maybe.
A little bit of self-selection there, or they're opting out. I don't know. Maybe I should think about that a little bit more. But Dr. Lesser often makes sense of this stuff for us. He's going to come on tonight to talk about a brand new report on electric vehicles. Specifically, you may have heard about the billions of dollars that American taxpayers have invested in new EV charging stations. But after billions of dollars spent, there's like 7 new of these things. So, even for those of you who went to law school like me because you hate math, you can do that math. Not a very good turn on the investment that the American taxpayer has made. So Dr. Lesser is going to join us a little bit later this hour to talk about it. And we've got plenty more to cover, as we always do here on the Matt Rooney Show, this Father's Day edition. We were going to talk a little bit about the latest poll numbers, which every week I'm expecting I'm going to come on here and the media is finally going to do their very clever, clearly deceitful autocorrect to try to begin pushing them in the other direction so that leftists don't become too deflated and decide to sit this one out. But the polling picture for Joe Biden continues to darken. We're also going to talk about new awful news for Joe Biden in the interestingly competitive battle for the black vote in 2024. We talked a little bit about this last week when we had a black congressional candidate from New Jersey on, Teddy Liddell from South Jersey. More evidence that the black vote, I don't know if it's the right thing to say that it's actually in play. I don't think anybody thinks that Donald Trump's going to win the black vote. But if Donald Trump gets, 15, 20, 25% of the black vote, I mean, it's over. It's over for Joe Biden. It's time to pack it up, enroll at a nursing home, get used to watching reruns of The Price is Right and subsisting on cottage cheese and applesauce, because that's his future. He's out of the White House if those numbers concerning the black vote actually come to fruition. So we're going to get a little bit more into that this evening as well. We also have some stupidity from Spartacus, one of my state's 2 senators, Cory Booker, who made some goofy January 6 comments. They've got nothing else to talk about now with these polls going the way that they're going, right? They're grasping at straws. Nothing seems to be working. The abortion scare isn't working like it normally does. So now they're going to resurrect January 6th. Again, they're just going to continue to cycle through their talking points until they finally get to something that works. We also have some news on the immigration front. So as per usual, more information on this program than the CDC says is safe to stick into a single program. But we treat you like adults, unlike most other places you can go to get news and commentary in this day and age. We trust you, whether you want to wear 16 masks or none as you consume the Matt Rooney program. You do you, as the kids might say. Again, 855-839-1210 is the number. Let's take a break, play some ads, and make some money. We ain't doing this for free, as much as I love hanging out with Andrew and everybody else here at the station. And then we'll be back in just a moment to kick this show off into high gear.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Congressman Byron Donalds, the man himself. Any comments on Biden's executive action on the border?
The man is gaslighting the American people. The reason Joe Biden is doing this is because his poll numbers suck. Let's just call it exactly what it is. Don't mince words. His poll numbers suck because he sucks as a president. He's terrible, and he's got to do a fig leaf of reversing course. And that's what this mess is today. America, do not be confused by this charade and this sham.
Rich Zioli, weekday afternoons, 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
Just like our offensive line protects our star quarterback, plumbers protect the health of the nation. And Philadelphia Plumbers Union Local 690 is no different. In hospitals, commercial, industrial, and residential, with the best trained plumbers in the world, you can be sure your project is done on time and on budget, no matter how big or small. So when your business needs to build new or expand existing facilities, you can count on the members of Plumbers Union Local 690. Visit plumber690.org.
Lexus of Cherry Hill, a 6-time J.D. Power dealer of excellence for customer service. Why would you buy your Lexus from anyone else? The 2024 Lexus models are here and moving fast, and the newly redesigned 2024 Lexus GX has arrived. Tony Labello and his team are your source for the Lexus of your dreams. Over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles in stock. You deserve a Lexus and award-winning customer service. Start your journey with family-owned and operated Lexus of Cherry Hill.
For J.D. Power dealer of excellence information, visit jdpower.com/US-DOE.
This is Len Lundy of Lundy Law. When we say we hope you are never involved in an accident, we mean it. But if you're injured in an accident, we will work quickly to get you the maximum compensation you deserve. And when we also say it won't cost you a dime up front, we mean it. Remember our name, Lundy Law. Your injury lawyers. Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW or visit LundyLaw.com.
Hey, Cherry Hill. We know your favorite station is WPHT. Tell your smart speaker, play 1210 WPHT.
Don't worry, we're going to have plenty on the Trumpster tonight here on the Matt Rooney Show. Lots to talk about. And we're definitely going to touch on this New York Times story that Drudge is pushing today. Drudge the Turncoat. This is the title. You got to love these people. The resistance to a new Trump administration has already started. That's an actual headline in the New York Times. An emerging coalition that views Donald J. Trump's agenda as a threat to democracy is laying the groundwork to push back if he wins on November, taking extraordinary preemptive actions. They titled themselves the resistance last time around, right? So now the resistance is already reemerging. And we haven't even cast a single vote in election 2024 yet. I think that this article, I usually don't recommend the New York Times to anyone because it's a leading killer of brain cells, right up there with alcohol overconsumption and meth. The View as well. Let's throw that in there. But I think that the more American voters who are still on the fence, and there are still a few of them out there, that sees how deranged these people are, how obsessed they are with the advancement of their agenda and power, they're going to decide to abandon the Democrats because it's uncomfortable, right? I mean, like case in point, if Joe Biden wins somehow in November and we get another Joe Biden term and he's out there, probably at that point they'll just throw caution to the wind because he'll be term limited and he'll be on a walker or a wheelchair or something, and he's walking around mumbling and pooping himself on television. Meanwhile, advancing terrible policies with whoever it is in the White House is actually making the decisions. I'm going to oppose him with every ounce of my being, but not because I'm driven by hatred. It's love of this country. I don't want to see this country, as we sit here on Father's Day, that my children will one day inherit, be destroyed by morons and thieves. That's why I do this. That's why I'm here. I should be home right now having a whiskey as somebody cooks for me, right? And enjoying my children, maybe watching some type of sporting event or some kind of movie with lots of blood and explosions. But here I am. And I'll tell you this much. I mean, they pay Andrew the big bucks here, but I'm here at a discount. Stocker knows that. This is well below what I charge hourly for my legal clients.
It's
Andrew.
very generous of you, especially on a holiday. That's very generous of you.
I'm just glad someone said it, so I appreciate you saying this.
It's the truth. You got to speak the truth when you're in these kind of positions, right?
We always do,
right?
Or we always try, right? So I'm here because I care. It's not. I'm not motivated by hatred. I don't like Joe Biden, but I don't like Joe Biden because I think he's a crook and a liar and his policies are destroying this country. They hate us. They, the left, is what I'm referring to here. Not they, them, plural pronouns that are now singular the way the left likes to use them. They hate us because of who we are. They don't like that we're happy. They don't like the fact that we believe in this old-timey, old-fashioned notion that America's model is still the best model that people should follow, that this is a fundamentally great country. And as a Democrat president of all people once said, there's nothing wrong with this country that can't be fixed by what's right with this country. We believe that, and they hate us for that. They hate it. So, the more people that see how their brains work and how much hate there is in their heart, I don't think it's a bad thing for the good guys. So if I'm the Republicans, maybe I would actually promote this New York Times article. But I want to pivot for a moment back to what we were talking about at the open of tonight's show, because this is Father's Day. So we have some Father's Day themed content appropriately. And as if they were trying to help me with my show prep, Disney is now, I think, 3 episodes deep into The Acolyte, which if you haven't seen it, and I don't recommend seeing it because it is a hot, steaming, stinking pile of space garbage. And I'm not exaggerating. It makes that Rise of the Jedi movie, which got widely panned, it makes that look like a Frank Capra masterpiece. It's that terrible. It's I guess this is the fairest way to describe it, Andrew. It's about lesbian space witches.
Yep.
I got that right?
Yeah.
And here's what we find out in the latest episode. Spoiler alert, if you're one of the last people on this program that still has a Disney Plus account for anything other than your kids watching Bluey, you want to not listen to this because I'm going to spoil this 3rd episode for you. You find out that there's these lesbian space witches, and they chant, and the best way I can describe the chanting, I don't know if you've seen those videos of upper middle class women spending a ton of money to scream in the woods and hit logs with bats. Have you seen this, Andrew? This is like the new trend.
I've heard of it.
Because rich white American women have too much money and too much time on their hands.
Right.
So when they're not voting their ovaries, they're hitting trees with bats in the woods and screaming.
I haven't seen it, but I have heard some things.
It's a thing that they do now.
Yeah.
Right? But we're toxic men, right, here on Father's Day. We're toxic.
On our own holiday.
On our own holiday for doing things like voting for Donald Trump that, helped our 401ks expand. But in any event, so besides chanting and besides engaging in some of the worst dialogue I have ever heard written for movie, cinema, theater, whatever, television, they conceive by using the Force. Now, for those of you that don't wear glasses like I do and maybe went outside more when you were a child than I guess I did, so you're not familiar with the Star Wars universe, there's this Force that's out there in the ether, right? It's kind of their explanation, George Lucas's explanation of the supernatural. It's a very Eastern concept of the supernatural, this idea that there is this, well, I know you shouldn't define a word with a word, but this force in the universe that binds everyone together, right? It's kind of a pretty idea. It's a lovely idea, and it's one that works very well in the original series. And one of the keys is that the Force is bigger than all of us. So even though these Force users, the bad guys like Darth Vader, the good guys like Luke Skywalker, they can use it to augment their powers and do the flipping and the fighting and the pushing with their hands, right?
It's my favorite part.
The Force pushing?
The lightsaber fighting and the slicing and the dicing. And
it's lots of fun.
It's great.
Lots of good, wholesome space fun. They still can't dominate it, right? Because there's this idea, then this is much more Western, that there is something that's bigger than all of us out there.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you do have a way to manipulate it, it's not good, right? And that's what the bad guys do, like Darth Vader. They manipulate it for evil. They try to bend it to their wills. The good guys, they don't do that. Well, these lesbian space witches, they use the Force to impregnate each other, right? So it's a magical, mystical space wizard version of artificial insemination that the good people over at Disney have come up with. And they use it to put little Force babies in each other's tummies because they don't need men, right? Because they're lesbian space witches. Why would you need guys? And this is children's television programming, right? I don't know what the Acolyte is rated. I'm guessing at least PG-13, maybe R. It is on Disney Plus, and there are things on Disney Plus that are not necessarily meant for young children. It's a streaming platform that has a variety of different types of programming, but we know that Disney Plus is famous for sneaking very adult content on there that actually is for children, even though it has themes that most normal people wouldn't want their kids exposed to. So now, when your 12-year-old is watching The Acolyte, you need to know that they're seeing lesbian space witches knock each other up. What would Walt Disney have to say if his frozen head was somehow unthawed tomorrow, right? And he could see what's going on here. If it was thawed out, right? I'm sure he would be horrified. Any normal human being would be horrified. But let's back up here for a second to something more fundamental. We see a familiar theme. The left does not believe in the gender binary. They do not believe in the traditional nuclear family. They don't necessarily think men and masculinity is a good thing. In fact, many of them think it's a toxic, evil force, one that needs to be beaten down, constrained, in some cases, eradicated. So the creators of this new Acolyte series, it's almost this twisted kind of escapism fantasy where men are no longer necessary. And as I've said before in this program, when we talk about feminism and radical feminists and this whole pushback against toxic masculinity that reached its peak during the Me Too movement, the energies of these ladies, so misplaced, so horribly misplaced. The men you need to worry about in our society are not, quote unquote, too manly or too masculine. The virtue that is masculinity, what goes part and parcel with that is respecting and defending your family, and treating your family with respect because you love your family and you have an obligation to serve and defend that family from outside aggressors and forces that wish to do it harm. The obvious ways, right? If we were to go back to caveman times, a woolly mammoth tries to attack your camp. As a man, it's your instinct and it's your duty to try to take that mammoth down, right? And now in today's age, with more subtle means, they try to attack your family with horrible television programming with adult themes that are aimed at your children or wacky things that are forced down their throats in public schools. It's your duty as a man to combat those things. Men like Bill Clinton and Harvey Weinstein and pick your pig, right? Hunter Biden, they're not too masculine. They're not masculine enough. These are what, if I can use a popular cultural phrase from my youth in the 80s and 90s, these are girly men, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, right? These are men who lack masculine virtue. These aren't real men. These aren't tough guys. They're cowards. And that's why they treat women the way that they do, because they were never taught how to be real men. So if you really are interested in empowering and protecting women, you don't do that by destroying men. You don't do that by beating down young boys and teaching them that masculinity is something to be ashamed of, right? Or at the very least, it should be something furtive that you keep to yourself. You shouldn't try to erase it, as this Disney programming does. It's something that we need more of. It's something that should be celebrated. So, in many ways, Father's Day, which they're trying to, here's what they're trying to do with Father's Day. They know taking it head on is difficult, so they're trying to replace it with Juneteenth. And I don't have a problem with Juneteenth. Juneteenth, in some ways, makes more sense than a lot of the other holidays they push on us, because celebrating the Union, the American Union, ending slavery, that's a wonderful thing. It was a highlight of American history. But they're trying to use Juneteenth to get rid of Father's Day. We can't let them do that. We have to use these holidays to celebrate what is so important about family and our societies, and particularly men's role, the role of a man in those families and in those societies. If we lose that, we've really lost everything. 855-839-1210 is the number here on the Matt Rooney Show. Quick break, and when we return, we will have with us one of my favorites, Dr. Jonathan Lesser, to dig into some alarming news concerning the money that you're spending on EV charging stations that have never been built. He's got a new report. You're not going to want to miss this here on the Matt Rooney Show. Back in a second.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
The ride you want is what we've got. So, drive a little, save a lot at TurnersvilleJeep.com. Come to Turnersville and get incredible zero-down lease deals on a massive inventory of new Jeeps, Dodges, and Ram trucks. That's right. Save big with special zero-down lease deals at Turnersville. The ride you want is what we've got. So, drive a little, save a lot. TurnersvilleJeep.com, your premier tri-state Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, and Wagoneer dealer.
This is Dr. Marianne Ritchie. Tune in to Your Radio Doctor every Saturday afternoon at 5 here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT for the latest healthcare news and information, because your health is your wealth. That's Your Radio Doctor, Saturdays at 5.
See Joe Conklin and the City Rhythm Orchestra in a tribute to Philly sports fans on the Boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey, Saturday, July 13th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. JoeConklin.com!
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
Hi, Discover. It's Jennifer Coolidge, and your cashback match has inspired me.
Great. We love doubling the cashback you earn at the end of your first year.
I'm doubling everything now. I'm double dating. I'm double dipping.
Discover cashback match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Free speech lives here, on the air, and on the Odyssey app. Talk Radio 1210. WPHT.
If you're not watching the Matt Rooney Show over on YouTube.com/@1210WPHT, give us a like, by the way. You're missing out on some of the fun because the comment section is always salty. And occasionally there's a nugget in there that we pull onto the air that's worth sharing with the class. Plenty of people weighing in on something that I wanted to get into tonight. It plays into this gender binary debate we're having in our society and the roles of men and the roles of women and where's the line and what's appropriate. It's been reported, and this is breaking news on Friday, right before the weekend. Apparently, the United States Armed Services Committee is planning on deliberating on a plan to require American women to register for the Selective Service. And that would be part of the National Defense Authorization Act for the coming fiscal year. You all know right now, only males in this country are required to register for the Selective Service. That's the draft. Now women might be required to register for the draft. So not just your sons and brothers and male cousins can go and die in Joe Biden's wars, but pretty soon your daughters might be added to the mix. And unless they're lesbian space witches, Andrew, with magical powers, it's not a situation you'd like to see them find themselves in.
No, not at all.
I also want to comment, Tiny Bubbles over in the comments says, don't confuse the entire lesbian population with the political militant LGBTQIA++. What's the second plus? Movement. Oh, there's also a period in there. Who are the period people? Do I even want to ask?
Be careful. If you don't really want to know the answer.
You're right. I should know better at this point. I shouldn't be asking.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be asking. And look, it goes without saying, Tiny, I am in no way lumping all gay and lesbian people in with these wackadoos that want to mutilate, manipulate, abuse our children. One of our favorite guests we've ever had on the show is we've had the founder of Gays Against Groomers, who's a lesbian, on this program to talk about how horrified she is about all this stuff. Okay? At the same time, I'm going to throw this out there since this is Pride Month and everybody's walking around waving their rainbow flags. Okay? So I do have to throw this out there. I don't believe in group punishment, even though I went to Catholic school for many years as a kid, right? Fault is individual. But if you're going to participate in this Pride Month movement and not push back against these groomers, then silence is consent. Silence is consent. You have responsibility. I'm a Roman Catholic, okay? When the Catholic Church is going in the wrong direction because that commie pope over in Rome, Francis, is saying or doing ridiculous things, or during the sex abuse scandal when there were many priests and prelates making terrible decisions, right? I spoke out. Many Catholics spoke out. You have a responsibility to speak out when an organization or a movement you're a part of is doing or saying wacky things. That's a separate issue from moral culpability. Not trying to overcomplicate things, just being honest about it. That's how I see it. So if you're going to go to the parade and you're going to wave the rainbow flag and then marching, 100 feet behind you is a drag queen that is shaking his or her moneymaker in the face of children, you own it. You own it. 855-839-1210 is the number. Enough of that for now. We'll get back to it for sure before the night is done. But I want to bring on one of our favorite guests. I said it before. I'll say it again. I always think of him as like the Bill Nye pushing back against green energy. If Bill Nye wasn't a nutcase, he's a frequent guest on the Matt Rooney Show. He has testified before Congress, various regulatory authorities concerning energy policy at the federal and state level. He has authored numerous papers on energy policy and of the excesses and the lies that are baked into the green energy movement. He is an economist, and he is now newly at the National Center for Energy Analytics, and he's who we always turn to make sense of this stuff. So without further ado, Dr. Jonathan Lesser, welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show, sir. Long time no talk.
Thanks, Matt. Happy Father's Day, and great to be on.
Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Patriarchy Appreciation Day, which is what we're celebrating here at the station. You are definitely a credit to our gender, if you don't mind my saying so. I know you believe in men and women and, the gender binary, so I don't have to get into that wackiness with you.
I thought there were 286,312.6 genders now. Did I miss something?
No, I think there might actually be a couple more. Facebook just did a software update.
I'm not sure what the 0.6 is. So.
Well, as Andrew just said a minute ago, I don't think we want to know once we start getting into...
We don't.
Yeah, no, we don't. We don't. We want to stay away from the decimals. Well, so I got my hands on this relatively new report that you have out, and it's from the National Center for Energy Analytics. When did you join the center, by the way? I think that's your new home since you were last with us.
It is. The National Center for Energy Analytics began, it started in early March. My former Manhattan Institute colleague, Mark Mills, was asked to put it together, so he is now the director of it. And he asked me to join him, which I gladly did. And we produced this new report that came out a couple weeks ago on the infrastructure requirements for electric vehicles. And what that means is, what do you need if you're going to mandate all these electric vehicles and we're all going to have to drive them by 2050 and we won't be able to buy anything else by 2035, which is just 10 years from now? What kind of infrastructure do you need to support those vehicles so everyone can go out and charge them and drive around merrily? And it turns out that you need a lot. You need trillions of dollars worth of infrastructure, and it's not going to happen.
We've already spent, and correct me if I have my numbers wrong, as of 2021, something like $7.5 billion. That's what Congress allotted. And it was supposed to build tens of thousands of these electric vehicle chargers. Here in our area in the Delaware Valley, you've seen these things at Wawa's. Usually they're Tesla chargers, but there's other ones kicking around. And the idea was, as the good doctor's explaining here, to lay the groundwork for this onslaught of new EVs. Then we found out that they've built only a handful, and I'm not exaggerating, a handful of these things, despite a massive investment. I think, Dr. Lesser, it worked out to something like hundreds of millions of dollars per charger that's been constructed to date.
Yeah, they've built 8 so far, and A few weeks ago, I think Transportation Secretary Buttigieg said we're going to have 500,000 of these by 2030. And if you just do the numbers, it turns out starting now, you'd have to build 10 of those, 10 new charging stations every hour, 24 hours a day for the next 5 years to make that number. And that's obviously not going to happen. But what our infrastructure report looked at was not just the charging stations themselves. That's the easy part. The hard part is you'll have to upgrade all the distribution lines, that local utilities. Those are the poles and wires you see running down the street. Those will have to be upgraded to carry more electricity for all those home chargers. And all the transformers you see hanging off power poles, those are the gray cylinder boxes you see, they're going to have to be upgraded. You have to replace them with bigger ones to handle the extra load. You'll have to actually put in bigger wooden poles or metal poles to support all that extra weight. And then you have to build huge transformers to provide electricity that's needed for these public charging stations, some of which will use as much electricity as a small town or a steel mill. So it's just simply not going to happen. The cost is astronomical. My estimate was $4 trillion, and that's probably low because as you increase the demand for all this equipment, the price goes up. And one thing to know is transformers are kind of they're kind of the most essential part of the electric system, and nobody really understands them very well, but they change voltage levels. That's required because otherwise, if you tried to put 10,000 volts into your house, your lights and appliances really wouldn't like that. It takes years. Utilities have to wait years to order these, and most of them come from China and India. And the ones we're getting from China, that's an obvious security risk. Plus, you need all the minerals, all the copper, and the specialized steel you have to have. We don't manufacture enough of that at all. So it's just when you start digging down into what's really required if you're going to allow people to just charge their vehicles when they want, it's not going to happen.
And I think you said the number you estimated was $4 trillion.
Right.
To give people some perspective, in 2023, the federal deficit was $1.7 trillion. So we are talking about a massive amount of money here that just doesn't exist. I know the federal government can technically print money, but look at the trouble that's getting us in. It's not going to happen anywhere near the time frame that the federal government wants to make it happen, if it ever does. And you raise a good point, Dr. Lesser, because we think in terms of the chargers, which is part of this being erected, but in order for EV chargers to work effectively, you got to charge at home for anybody that's ever had them as an expense point, and also just practically, you let them charge overnight. And you need to have at least a 240-volt outlet at your home. So if everybody on your block starts installing these things, it just is not going to work unless there's a massive investment in improving our infrastructure.
And the other thing is, for a lot of older homes, they have like a fuse box or circuit breakers that can support 100-amp service. Well, a level 2 charger, that's what is commonly used at home,
right,
requires a whole separate circuit, and they can draw 80 amps. So that's not going to work real well if you've got your EV charging and you try to turn on the dryer or the stove to cook your dinner. Boom, there goes your power. And then you've got to get you've got to get electricians to install these because you're not going to install a circuit yourself. And you have to have linemen to build all these new transmission lines. You'll need hundreds of thousands of miles of new transmission lines. Well, there's already a shortage of electric linemen, and it's not a job that you can just show up and say, I want to be an electric lineman today, because it's a very dangerous job, and one mistake and you're fried. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about where's all the electricity going to come from? we didn't address that in the report because we just wanted to focus on the infrastructure. But of course,
I thought it was those offshore wind turbines that you and I have talked about many times before.
Absolutely, yes. You'll have, and if the wind happens to be blowing, you'll be able to charge your electric vehicle. So, it's one of these things where I remarked to someone else saying, you pass these laws mandating electric vehicles, and you're going to say, we're going to force everyone to buy an EV, and then we say it's going to increase their choice somehow. But then you don't even think about how are you going to get all the infrastructure together to support these EVs. And they don't seem to have actually thought about that, or just wave their hands and make it so, it's going to happen. And as, the Secretary Buttigieg is finding out, no, it's not going to happen at all. And the real issue is how much economic devastation do we absorb as a country before they realize, oops, I guess we shouldn't have done this.
Well, and now I'm asking you to bust out your crystal ball here, right? You're good at analyzing data and synthesizing it and making sense of it for the rest of us. But I'm asking you to speculate here. At what point do we get to a juncture where the numbers just don't add up anymore, but they're no longer able to get away with pushing all this stuff on us because it blows up in their faces? Because we're talking about massive amounts of money and deadlines that we know are going to get blown. At some point, we have to see behind the curtain and lay our eyes on the great and terrible Oz and find out that it's all a big joke, a giant charade, right?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, Matt. Europe is realizing this. They're already backing off their green goals. I think, certainly if President Trump is reelected, I think a lot of this madness will stop very quickly. I think once people start realizing, let me step back. A lot of states, including yours in New Jersey, have adopted the California Advanced Clean Car Rules. And that requires increasing percentages of new cars sold to be electric vehicles. Accumulating, finally in 2035, it's got to be 100%. So it turns out that, car dealers have to buy these vehicles from automakers. And when they can't sell them, they eat it. They eat the losses. And then they can't get as many of the cars people actually want to buy. So what you'll see is that car dealers in a lot of places will start going out of business because they simply can't get the cars the people want to buy. And as that happens, I think people will start realizing this isn't going to work. And all of these clean car rules start kicking in next year or the year after. In my state of New Mexico, I talked to a car dealer in the southeast part of the state, and he said he sells about one electric vehicle every 6 months. And mostly what he sells is pickups because it's oil and gas and cattle ranching country. So he said every single car dealer in this state is going to go out of business, including the ones in Santa Fe, where that's where the progressive greenies all live. He said it's simply unsustainable, and he doesn't see how this can happen. So I expect this is my long-winded way of answering your question, I expect within 2 years you'll start seeing it all collapse.
Wow, from your mouth to God's ears. Dr. Jonathan Lesser, one of our faves here on the Matt Rooney Show. Always kind to call in, especially since, as he mentioned a moment ago, he's in New Mexico. So sometimes there's a time there is always a time difference, not sometimes, but it can interfere with the dinner hour. So we appreciate him making time for us. He is now with the National Center for Energy Analytics. Where do we find you online now that you have moved?
You can go to the ncea.org website or just Google National Center for Energy Analytics, and you'll see that. You'll see a list of, you can find me, you can contact me, you can find articles I've written as well as the other scholars there have written. It's a great organization, and I think you can expect a lot of great work from all the people on board there in the future.
One of these days, we're going to talk into going on to X. I know our mutual friend Mike, we're always talking about it. We got to get him on X. We know part of the reason why you're so sane and well-adjusted is that you're not on social media. But more people need to be exposed to you, Dr. Lesser. So I'm going to continue my campaign here.
I will open my my trench coat and go on X. But I'll get your advice, Matt, since you're not one of those girly men.
Dr. Jonathan Lesser, one of our faves here on the Matt Rooney Show. Thank you for joining us as always, and happy Father's Day to you as well, sir.
Thanks very much, Matt, and happy Father's Day to you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Billions of dollars, $7.5 billion to build 8 chargers since this was announced in 2021. How are they going to complete the rest of the infrastructure before these arbitrary dates, which they've set for political reasons? It's like everything else in Washington, D.C. None of it's tied to reality because they always assume that they're going to be retired or gone from politics by the time the proverbial chickens come home to roost. It's no way to run a superpower, folks, but that's how things are currently playing out down there in the Potomac. So, the doctor is not a partisan, but you heard him say it, right? If Donald Trump is elected in November, there's a good chance that the stop button's going to be pushed on a lot of this madness. If not, it's going to continue. And speaking of madness, back to the supremely important issue of lesbian space witches. Do we have the audio of the lesbian space witches chanting?
Power one, the power of two, the power of many. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
We finally found a theme song for the Matt Rooney Show. We've only been looking for almost 3 years, and we've got it.
My brain hurts.
Oh, man. I forgot to mention, they're not just lesbian space witches. They're communist lesbian space witches. The power of many. See, this is... And look, this is not an original thought to me. Wokeness, part of the tragedy of wokeness, isn't just that you or I may be offended by the substance of what they're pushing on us, right? This whole anti-male notion that women don't need men, right? Or conversely, men don't need women. It's insanity, and it's obviously poisonous for a society that you would at least think wants to be healthy. It's also that when you're pursuing wokeness for the sake of wokeness, it doesn't produce good art. Regardless of how you feel about lesbian space witches artificially inseminating each other with the Force, that is objectively terrible. That's not good media. That's not good art. It's a boring show, and it doesn't get much better from there, Andrew. This is an actual exchange from The Acolyte, the Disney's new Disney spinoff.
Oh, gosh, just get it over with.
The two main characters are arguing, and one of them, May, says, the Jedi are bad.
Oh.
And then another one, Osha, says, the Jedi are good. Right?
Mind-blowing stuff right there.
I'll tell you what, that kind of writing. It's like a third-grade English class. That's the quality of writing for Disney
It's literally how a kindergartner would describe Star Wars. It's like, in 2 sentences, describe Star Wars. The Jedi are good, the Sith are bad.
And they made fun of George Lucas for some of the dialogue in the prequel series. Well, at least the prequel trilogy had a plot, even though some of the dialogue was clunky. What's the excuse for this? Again, it's wokeness for the sake of wokeness, and the end result, we should expect it. 855-839-1210 is the number. 1 hour of the Matt Rooney Show down. 2 hours still left to go. So go fill up that coffee mug. That's what I'm going to do, and we'll be back for our numero dos in just a moment.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
Charlie Alexander joining us here on Kale and Company.
Why is there lights on in the buildings? Why do we have cable access in these buildings and internet access on in these buildings? I have it from a good whistleblower, but there's $1,800 worth of bills to Comcast every single month in abandoned buildings.
It's amazing.
Know that there's free internet and phone service. Maybe they plan on putting a Panera in there.
Yes. Yeah, maybe they'll share their password so I can stream YouTube TV.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
The West heads east on Monday, June 17th and Tuesday, June 18th, both at 6:40, and Wednesday, June 19th at 1:05 when the Padres visit the Phils at Citizens Bank Park. Get tickets now at Phillies.com. End your Thursday with a bang at an Xfinity fireworks show you won't want to miss on Thursday, June 27th following the Phils game against Miami starting at 6:20. Snag tickets now at Phillies.com.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there. Sunny and 75. Almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
In West Philly, thousands are participating in one of the nation's largest Juneteenth celebrations. 2 Philly cops are on administrative leave after shooting a dirt bike rider in Fairhill. Margate police say they plan to start fining parents of unruly teenagers.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
When you factor in the heat and humidity above 100, that's dangerous for everybody if you don't take the precautions.
And just in time for the first official day of summer on Thursday. In Los Angeles County, crews battling the post fire are getting ready for a rough night of high wind that will hamper their efforts to curtail the blaze. The LA County Fire Department's Craig Little lays out the challenge.
We're expecting gusts as high as 60 miles per hour later on this evening. They can all fly through that. Now the question is, when you have winds that high, as far as water dropping is concerned, that's probably not going to be effective. It's going to atomize.
The fire, covering 19 square miles, has been only about 2% contained, and more residents are being warned to be prepared to evacuate if it continues to rapidly spread. Israel's military announced it will pause fighting along a route in southern Gaza during daytime hours to let more aid get in. But Linda Gradstein reports from Jerusalem that generated controversy.
Israel's prime minister said he only learned of the army's decision for a tactical pause in the fighting along a humanitarian corridor in Gaza when it was announced. His office later said there had been no change in policy and fighting would continue. Hardline cabinet members criticized the new policy and said they had not been informed.
The United Nations says it welcomes the move, but adds that no aid moved through that area today. The Ukraine Peace Summit in Switzerland has ended. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke after 90 nations signed a communique saying they are committed to protecting Ukraine's territorial integrity.
When the action plans for peace are ready, and when every step is worked out, the path will be opened for the second peace summit, and thus for ending this war, for a just and lasting peace.
But Zelensky warned time is not on Ukraine's side. Minneapolis Federal Reserve President Neil Kashkari was on CBS's Face the Nation this morning, taking a look at those new inflation numbers.
Americans are saving less money, a lower percentage of their income. How long is that going to endure? So we are looking at what I call a high-pressure economy, but there's also some evidence that it's cooling.
The European Union just cut interest rates for the first time since 2019, which has not yet happened here. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2 got $155 million in ticket sales this weekend. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Welcome back, old friends, new frenemies, and all who lie elsewhere in between on the spectrum that is life. Lesbian space witches, too. I should welcome you as well, because you are now on the spectrum thanks to Kathleen Kennedy over at Disney. Welcome back to another episode of The Matt Rooney Show. We are in our dose of Trace for our bilingual listeners and viewers. You know how to get in on the action. If you're hearing this, you're probably already listening, either on the radio, the old-fashioned way, or via the Odyssey app. You can also head over to youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where hopefully you can be kind and you can give us a like. We would greatly appreciate it. Let's be kind to one another on this Father's Day, especially to one of your favorite fathers, me. And joining me on tonight's program, I should have done this in the first hour, but I'm always doing everything rear end backwards around here, as regular listeners know. But a couple of you have commented about it over on Twitter. Yes, Henry is not here tonight. The transition has happened. Henry Michette has been stolen from us by Greg Stocker for the morning show. That's what happens. You come on the Matt Rooney Show on Sunday nights. You become, if we can torture this Disney comparison a little bit longer, you become a very powerful Jedi. You learn all the skills and you just become incredible at the craft, and then Stocker yanks you and puts you on a Monday through Friday show. So Henry, who was already with Rich Zioli as an associate producer, now he is over on the morning show doing his thing, has to be here at the crack of dawn, literally, to do that program. So we are now blessed to have with us Andrew Torres, who is newer to the station, and now he must begin his purgatory hanging out with me 7 to 10 p.m. here on Sunday night. So, Andrew, welcome to the jungle.
Thanks. That was a great intro.
Wasn't that a great intro?
You told a story, and it had a beginning, middle, and end, unlike most things that have come out on Disney Plus over the last few years.
That's right. See how that works, Kathleen Kennedy?
Take notes.
You have a plot. I had a hero.
Yep.
Right? Who is Andrew, right? I had a villain who in this case is Stocker because he steals my producers. You had the wise old wizard, right, who helps the hero progress in his quest. That's me, naturally, right?
Obviously.
A little older and wiser and fatter by the day, actually, for those of you keeping count. How old are you, Andrew?
30.
You're 30, okay.
Yes.
So you are a tad bit younger than yours truly. I turned 40 this year.
Okay.
And I'm starting to feel it just a little bit. There's certain things like drinking recovery time that just aren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I have a couple drinks on Saturday night the next morning, oof.
It takes you up until about showtime to get ready and acclimated to the day.
Right. Whereas when you have two kids, so it's a little bit different. But when I was 30, I didn't have kids yet, so I could drink grain alcohol through a funnel, watch 3 Disney shows that would melt my brain, and then still be able to function with 4 hours of sleep. Actually, it was around this time of year, and I was thinking about this earlier today. I used to work down the Jersey Shore when I was in my 20s, and I used to stay up all night partying. I worked at a supermarket, and the butcher was kind enough to let me, after I showed up with my friend, to sit in the freezer and drink a Gatorade for the first half an hour to kind of perk up, right? And then we'd be ready to go, perform excellent service for the rest of the day, go sleep on the beach from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, eat something, not necessarily nutritious, go out, drink more terrible alcohol and liquor because that's what you can afford when you're that age, and then just repeat with like 4.5, 5 hours of sleep max. It's amazing what you can do when you're in your 20s. Now you can't.
No, it's not the same.
It's not. Yeah, and you have 2 children.
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My daughter is almost 2. She'll be 2 in September, and my son just turned 6 months.
So your
last
daughter
week.
is almost the exact same age as mine.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we were talking about that before the show. Yeah.
So we got to get some kind of like Sunday night daycare going on.
Yeah. Might be a little risky to have him running around the studio, so might have to think about it for a little bit.
I don't think anyone would notice the difference. There'd be no impact on show quality if little toddlers were in here ripping wires out of the wall.
No.
Half our stuff isn't working on any given Sunday night anyway.
Knocking monitors off the table and all that stuff.
Yeah. No one would notice a darn thing.
Right.
Here,
Right.
that's my sneaking suspicion. Well, we're happy to have you here on the Matt Rooney Show as
Thank
we
you, sir.
approach our 3rd anniversary, which is coming up here in July. We're almost there, about a month away. Did I ever think that they would let me blab on the air for 3 years? No, I did not. Do I think it's a good idea for them to let me blab on the air for 3 years? Depends on the week, whether it's a good idea or not. You be the judge, but the powers that be tell us that people are listening. More people are engaging all the time. You like the product, so we are happy to continue to deliver it to you. And I'm honored to spend every Sunday night with you, whether it be Father's Day or not. You know, some people asked me that I encountered over the weekend, went down the shore, saw lots of family and friends, and they said, "You're working on Father's Day?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going in to do the show." And they're like, "Why? It's Father's Day. Don't you want to golf? Don't you want to lay on the couch and watch Hunt for Red October for the 30th time? Don't you want to sit in your back deck and have a drink and listen to music and just chill out?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, yeah, kind of, but no, I'm serious about this program. It's something that I love. It's something that I want to do. I want to be here with all of you, especially in a year like 2024. When there's so much consequential happening. You are told every single year, this is the most important election of your lifetime. This is the most important election. If we lose this election, yada, 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 fill in the blank there, right? But no, I mean, this time it really is true. We are approaching an inflection point in American history where if we don't get the train back on the track shortly, I'm not saying that, the country's just going to implode on that first Wednesday in November after the election if Joe Biden is reelected. But I think it's going to get to a point where it is going to be very hard to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. For obvious reasons, right? Because our health as a nation is degrading rapidly. Our ability to project power, our reputation overseas as a superpower, all going downhill very quickly. But our culture is sick because government is playing an active role in enabling bad people that are trying to poison it. And so if you don't have a strong culture, politics is downhill from culture. You no longer have a healthy body politic. But this is the key. This is the key part, right? Because many of these things can be corrected with the right leadership, with the right policies, and you can recover. But if we become so divided where we are no longer united as a country, that's something you can't always come back from. I'm not one of these radio hosts that likes to throw around the whole Civil War thing, right? Because to some degree, it's a cheap ploy for ratings. It's taboo, it's bombastic, it's hyperbolic, right? I don't think it would happen like that again anyway. Right? It was a very different time in our history when the first Civil War happened, right? This is different. I think what would more likely happen is you'd have this continued balkanization where people that felt a certain way about the role of government in our lives would keep moving to places like Florida, and places like California would keep coming more like California. And eventually they're just going to peace out and develop into two very different countries, to the point where they don't have much in common and there's no ability as a federal government to operate with any type of unison on any important issue. It'll be death by gridlock. And that will be it, right? Not just because the quality of life in this country will degrade, but no one will exists to stand up to China or any of the other bad actors that are out there in this world of ours that don't value what we value. So this is really it. This one's for all the marbles. I am probably going to get off my keister and knock some doors this year. Not because I love it. I've done plenty of it in my life. But if we don't go all in on this one, which one are you waiting for? And for those of you who are listening who are in the Keystone State, that are in Pennsylvania within our listening region, I mean, you're in ground zero. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, you're going to decide the fate of the nation, the fate of the world, the fate of Western civilization in just a few short months. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I'm going to continue to challenge you every week. And I hope the answer is that you're going to do a lot about it. You're not just going to listen to 1210 WPHT, even though we want you to, because we love hanging out. And this is also how many of us make money, right? But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. No one is here simply for a paycheck, right? They're here because they believe in this stuff and they want to see this country get better. They want to see this country thrive. We want to see this country be what it can and should be. And I suspect you do too. So that is why I am here on Father's Day. And for as long as I am on the station, I will continue to be here on Father's Day. Because as a citizen of this country, I am committed to this country being what it should be for my children. That is my prayer as a father on this Father's Day and every single Father's Day from now until the end of time. 855-839-1210 is the number here on the Matt Rooney Show. Again, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where you can mix it up over in the comments. John over in the comments says, Matt, it's all over now, baby blue. Is that a reference to the song, or is he just saying that everything is now over and there's no chance of succeeding? Got to elaborate on that one, John.
Your guess is as good as mine.
You got to spell it out for me, folks. I know I sound intelligent, but I'm just doing a really good job of faking it.
Culturally, it's I mean, I'll admit for myself, I don't know that much about pop culture references and such like that. Star Wars, Star Trek, nerd, geeky type stuff, I'm all for it. Sports, yeah, sure, but music, not so much. So it's not exactly the same.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I most of what I listen to was created pre-1995.
Uh-huh.
And some of that's a function of starting to get a little bit older, but I don't like most new music.
And that's perfectly fine.
I think so.
Most of the people that I've had conversations with, they ask you, what kind of music do you listen to? And my answer is typically, it's like, it doesn't really matter to me. And people are like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand. How can you say it doesn't really matter? It's like, I'll listen to anything, but I don't go out there and have favorites or, wait for things to drop or different, stuff like that. So.
Well, my wife said this to me the other day. She goes, why aren't we going to any concerts? And I said, well, I'm happy to go to a concert, my dear, but I don't really listen to anything that's currently coming to a concert venue.
Right.
I mean, some of the geezers and they're geezers now that I like, I would still go see.
The Rolling Stones they were in town last week or the week before, right?
The Stones were in town, which is incredible. They tell you your entire life, like, don't drink, don't do drugs, live a healthy life. What? The Stones are probably in better shape than I am, and they're about 50 years older. So
they're in their fifth decade performing or something like that?
Right. So there goes that theory,
yeah.
Kids, right? This is your brain on drugs. You could be a gazillionaire and still be performing to concert halls and venues full of tens of thousands of people after living a rock and roll life. So yet another way that society lies to you. But I'm with you. And I mean, I used to fight with Henry all the time about, Taylor Swift, that I don't, many conservative commentator types don't like Taylor Swift because of her politics. I don't love her politics, but fundamentally, I don't think it's good music. I like some of her earlier country,
and that's the
fusion.
Thing. That's what I was going to say. There's
offerings.
A lot of her stuff that at the beginning of her career, when her songs were being played on Disney Channel and such, it was the cute little country music, and everybody was in love with it. And then she started to branch out and to do other things, and now she does all kinds of crazy stuff. And to me, I would probably lean towards the country music style that she had back in the beginning, but I think from her perspective, at least in the things that she's done recently, her getting involved or dating Travis Kelce and getting like the NFL, it was probably the greatest business decision any musician has ever made in their life. Getting the numbers and drawing that kind of a crowd, like people who couldn't care less about the NFL or football, but they care a lot about Taylor Swift, all of a sudden started watching football.
No, yeah, and ruining it for the rest of us.
Well, exactly. And my point is like our kids when they grow up, like our daughters, if they are into Taylor Swift and they love Taylor Swift, they don't care about football. They'll watch a football game if they show Taylor Swift 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
in the press or the owner's box or whoever. Do you know how many times they showed Taylor Swift during the Super Bowl? It was literally after every other snap. I had the count. I used to know what the number was, like how many times the camera cut to Taylor Swift and her posse of being in the whatever owner's suite thing at the Super Bowl. It was crazy how many times they did it.
Here we go. Here's from sportingnews.com. How many times was Taylor Swift shown at the Super Bowl? She was shown on camera for 55 total seconds during CBS's Super Bowl 58 broadcast, according to the website Ad Meter. She graced the screen a total of 11 times, meaning that the appearances lasted an average of 5 seconds each, which, if you're not familiar with how broadcast works, you haven't thought of it, that doesn't sound like a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of airtime. That's more than most of the players were given an individual zoom in at the Super Bowl. That's a lot of time.
She was shown a lot during the celebration when the Chiefs won. Because she was going around hugging everybody, and then when she got on the field, that's what everybody cared about. But it goes back to
because it's celeb porn too. Like everybody wanted to see her make out with Travis. That's what they wanted. They wanted to kiss.
Yeah. But it goes back to my original point of it was a great business decision because it benefits both the NFL for bringing in new viewers, and Taylor Swift gets to stay relevant even though she hasn't really done anything to change or anything like that over the last number of years.
The Eras Tour got critically panned. I mean, she did great. Or not the Eras Tour, excuse me. What I meant to say was the album that came after the Eras Tour got critically panned.
It's just another way for her name to get into an area where it wouldn't necessarily get, which is the guys watching football, and all of a sudden there's their daughter's favorite artist,
which is not what you want on Father's Day.
No.
I don't want to watch. Thankfully Father's Day doesn't come during football season.
Right. We have Sunday night baseball and the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Those are the sporting things that we have.
And Taylor Swift isn't dating anyone in those sporting worlds yet.
Yet being the key word.
Yet is the key word.
We'll see how it goes with Mr. Kelce, but
it's only a matter of time. 855-839-1210 is the number. Again, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. Quick break, back with our number 2 in just a moment.
Summer savings at Hessert Chevrolet. We're rolling out incredible savings on top Chevy models, Silverado and Trailblazer. Drive home a new 2024 Silverado with 1.9 APR for 72 months, up to $4,500 off MSRP, or a 2024 Trailblazer for $299 per month for 36 months. Don't miss out on these special offers here at Hessert Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit HessertChevrolet.com today.
Your way or no way at Hessert Chevrolet.
Get bonus days to save during Window Nation's semi-annual sale now through June 30th. Get 50% off all windows, along with no interest for 5 years. Plus a bonus 10% savings when you schedule an estimate. If your inefficient windows are costing you too much for air conditioning, that's a big deal. Now during Window Nation's semi-annual sale, you can replace them and save a big deal too. Offer ends June 30th, so schedule your in-home estimate now. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com.
This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Do you know when the best time to buy investment properties is? It's now. It's always now. You just need to learn how to buy them correctly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night and learn how to buy investment properties and make money every time. That's right. That's what we teach. We teach how to buy investment properties and make money every time. Go to investorschooling.com and RSVP right now. Take a class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. That's investorschooling.com. This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Don't go through life ignorant about how to become a millionaire. Learn how to invest in real estate, the stock market, precious metals, and learn from an expert. At Investor Schooling, we teach these things and more. We only provide education, and we will teach you how to leverage real estate, how to leverage the stock market, and how to leverage precious metals to make more money than you've ever made before. Go to investorschooling.com and take a complimentary class this Thursday. We will see you there. investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
Pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, or back that won't go away? Check out QC Kinetics. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. QC Kinetics. 215-999-3000.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hey Philly, it's Ike Reese. In the city of brotherly love, the only thing we love more than our teams is great savings. And with unlimited welcome from Verizon, you can save big, even if you're on a single line. For a limited time, single lines start at just $50 a month when you bring your own phone. With auto pay plus taxes and fees, that's a savings of $15 a month. And when you switch, now you can save on the things you love, like Netflix and Max, all on the most awarded 5G network. Now that's a real win. There's never been a better time to switch to the network America relies on. But this offer won't last long. Visit your local Verizon store to switch and save big today.
$180 BYOD promo credit and $360 local promo credit applied over 36 months. For new customers with one line on your own 4G, 5G phone on unlimited welcome plan required. Additional terms apply. Auto pay and paper-free billing required. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. $10 a month for each My Plan perk. Additional terms and conditions apply per perk.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, Clementon. Yeah! We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
Also last night, awkward moment with President Biden where he was looking very doddery. He was wandering around. He sort of wandered off, and Giorgia Meloni, the Italian premier, had to sort of guide him back to the crowd. It was quite painful viewing. Everyone's putting a slight brave face on it this morning. We've got some more for that for the paper tomorrow. But yeah, you can see from that footage yourself. It's this is getting embarrassing now. And you do really wonder how President Biden is going to be able to run an election campaign in October and November for re-election. And if he won, is that a man you really think is going to get through the next 4 years?
I mean, you're right. It was absolutely painful to watch, and that clip's going viral currently on social media. Obviously, Donald Trump and the Republicans really looking to ham it up. I mean, what was going on? I mean, obviously, most G7 summits are diplomatic sprints. You expect to see the President of the United States, as other world leaders, doing a flurry of meetings. Has he been doing the same thing?
No, he ducked out of the dinner last night, and frankly, Jack, I'm gonna ruin my story for the paper tomorrow by telling it to never mind the ballots. But my sources, diplomatic sources here, people I've been speaking to, say it's the worst they've ever seen Joe Biden. And he's in a bad way, and he's losing focus in meetings. Sometimes he's very sharp, sometimes he's very much not. So some worrying developments there, and an exclusive news story to never mind the balance.
The worst they've seen Joe Biden. That's not a U.S. media outlet, ladies and gentlemen. That is a reporter with the UK Sun. That's how we're perceived overseas right now. They don't all love Trump, right? Because Europe is still loaded with leftists. But the idea that Joe Biden is a worrying, doddering, ready to fall over at any moment, weak face for the West is not a foreign concept in foreign papers and on foreign television. It's right out there in the open. The American media is still trying to cover for Joe Biden, less and less so, only because it's getting harder to do so. But, I mean, run through your list of American presidents in the age of television. Have we ever heard anything like that before? George Bush Sr. threw up on someone during a visit in Japan back in the late 80s, early 90s, because he got sick at a dinner. I mean, that's the closest thing I can come up with. But nobody ever really questioned George H.W. Bush's competence, whether or not he was up to doing the job. The guy just got sick at a dinner. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And there's some introspection that's starting to happen in the American media. CNN said the quiet part out loud and pointed out, one of their commentators pointed out, that Joe Biden is getting far less scrutiny than any of his predecessors in contemporary American history. And it's for a reason. This is cut number 6, Andrew, if you have it over there. Biden, CNN, listen to this.
He's been snippy recently about being asked multiple questions in these press conferences, which we should just be clear, and we're both former White House correspondents, these are very limited. They're called 2 and 2s, and the reporters there's a tradition of asking more than the questions. Yeah. It's just pretty usual because there are not that many questions to ask.
And follows as well.
That's right.
You didn't really see many there.
And this president he falls far below his predecessors when it comes to interviews and when it comes to press conferences. We just need to be clear about that. They have a lot of questions to ask him, and these reporters do not have many opportunities. They've all dragged themselves to Italy for this G7 summit to do one thing, their jobs, ask these questions.
Yes.
Yeah, it's their job, and they're not being allowed to do it, but far too few of them admit what they just admitted on CNN in that clip you just heard. That the Biden administration is actively strong-arming the media, even getting snippy with them because they expect the support. They demand the support. They do not want to be questioned because the media is supposed to be on their side. But it's getting to a point where Joe Biden's infirmity is just it's not easy to conceal anymore. And the polling data, I think, bears that out. We have a new poll out today from Reuters. Just when you see one of these liberal outlets claim that somehow Joe Biden is breaking through, no, as Richard Barris told us on last week's program, this race has been remarkably consistent in the polling arena for many, many months now. It's a Reuters Ipsos poll, has Joe Biden trailing Donald Trump by 2 points, 41% to 39%. As I have said many times before, 2% for a Republican in a national contest, that's massive. This is from Reuters. Some 41% of registered voters in the 2-day poll, which closed on Tuesday, said they would vote for Trump if the election was held today, while 39% picked Biden. Some 20% said they had not picked a candidate, but were leaning towards third-party options or not voting at all. Trump's lead was within the survey's roughly 3 percentage point margin of error. No surprise there. But this latest poll found 10% of respondents would pick Robert Kennedy Jr., which, of course, Reuters points out is an anti-vaccine activist. A little bit of a conveniently manipulative description there, but we don't need to get into that right now. Consistent with all of the other polling. Consistent what else we've seen from Joe Biden in the polls over the course of the past several months. And as I look at this today, I mean, it's not even close out in the American Southwest where Dr. Jonathan Lesser lives. Arizona, Trump up 5. Nevada, Trump up 5. Those are averages. And part of it is being fueled by Donald Trump's strength with black American males, which is twisting Democrats something awful. They don't know what to do about it because they rely on the media and they expect the media not to question them. They really don't expect black America to challenge them. Black Americans are supposed to vote for Democrats unquestioningly every cycle, despite getting no return on the dollar for their votes. But guess what? That might finally be starting to change. It might finally be starting to change. I have a little bit on that as well for you this evening. Let's see. This is semaphore journalist Katia Goba. I may be mispronouncing that, so my apologies to Ms. Goba. This is cut number 9, Andrew. She appeared on multiple news outlets. This is her on MSNBC over the weekend, talking about her experiences and her journalistic inquiry into whether or not Trump's alleged, what's the right way to put it, incursions into the black vote are actually real. She seems to suggest that it is, and particularly among black men, and it's for a very specific reason. Let's go to Ms. Goba.
Some of Donald Trump's most well-known black supporters, like Mike Tyson and Don King, are defending the former president in a new interview. Trump also suggesting his mugshot, indictments, and conviction actually appealed to some black voters. Joining us now, Katia Goba, political reporter for Semaphore. She spoke with the former president 6 days after his felony conviction. Katia, thank you for your time. How did Trump respond when you asked him about how some black voters think he is a racist?
Well, his response was that he obviously is not one because he has, multiple black friends, and namely the people he and I were talking about, the people you named, like Mike Tyson and Don King and Herschel Walker. I think it's important to contextualize that and, make a point of saying that he was talking about his actual friends, saying, well, these are high-profile people. Why would, if anyone thought he was racist, why would they engage with him?
So you did speak to some of those people that support him. What did they say about why they support Trump?
They had a lot of good things to say. Many of them echoed the same sentiment about, the economy has changed and maybe Democrats aren't what they used to be. But some of them pointed to the criminal conviction, and I was surprised to hear that. But some of them, specifically like Mike Tyson and a bunch of others, said that, black men have felt this all the time, and or that they've been personally persecuted by the judicial and court system, and now this was an opportunity for someone else to, see how it happens with black people. So I thought that was interesting, but my point was that some of them think that this is very relatable, and when I asked them if they're talking to people on the ground, they said those people also talk about his convictions being relatable, black men specifically.
His convictions
just wondering what your main takeaway
relatable. His convictions being relatable. Now, look, I think she glosses over, Andrew, the effect of economics on the black vote and just the vote generally right now, how people seem to be leaning. I've talked about it ad nauseum here in the Matt Rooney Show. It was one thing when people were sitting at home during the pandemic getting free government cheese watching Netflix, right? Even though we had self-inflicted economic dislocation, it's nothing like what we're experiencing now because years of these policies have resulted in hyperinflation that's making it so that even the upper middle class are starting to feel the squeeze and having to adjust, right? So if you're in black America, right, and you're here and you're working and you're struggling like everyone else, and you see people breaking across the border, stealing across the border without consequences, and you're having trouble feeding your family, I think that's having a pronounced impact on your vote. But this whole idea of they see in Donald Trump a reflection, and these prosecutions of Donald Trump are a reflection of what they think is unfair about the legal system. Isn't it just a delicious piece of irony?
And I mean, it is. It's like you're starting to see a reverse of so many things that, like you talked about, the Democrat Party takes so many things for granted. They expect certain things. They expect votes from certain demographics and certain areas of the country. And now it's all starting to come back and bite them in the butt. And I think that, because of their arrogance and the way that they have perceived things for decades, it's not just something recently that's developed since Donald Trump was president and won the election in 2016. This is something that they've taken for granted for decades. And I think that when these things start to happen, it's a reality check. It's a gut punch. And now you can kind of see their mentality. They don't know what to do. They're scrambling around. They're running around like chicken with its head cut off. And I think the results are going to be what you and I have expected, what you've been talking about tonight and on other shows that you've had. The results are going to be what they are in November, and that is a very strong possibility of a second term for Donald Trump. And I think that that's something that you can already kind of see they're panicking about because they don't know what to do. And to me, I think it's pretty hysterical to watch, because when you've been in politics for so long, or you expect certain things to go a certain way, you kind of saw it in 2016. That's how they reacted. The Democrats and the left reacted that way. I feel like it's deja vu. We're having that same reaction all over again.
Yeah, in 2016, it was the poor whites, right?
Yeah.
Poor whites turned on them. Democrats have been telling Americans for not decades, generations without justification, that they're the party of the working man. They're the ones that care about working America. And, Republicans are the party of the wealthy guy, Wall Street, Main Street. They can't credibly say that anymore because all of these woke boardrooms are the backbone of the Democrat Party in 2024. But poor, rural, working Americans abandoned Democrats in 2016. Now it looks like Black America may finally begin to follow the same trajectory. I don't know. We'll see. But look, here's some latest polling just out today. I've got it right here. This is Suffolk, which is a recognized public polling outlet, Pennsylvania and Michigan. Support for black voters for presidential candidates in the general election. Joe Biden, 56%. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump, 11%, Cornel West, 8%, RFK Jr., 7%, undecided, 13%. I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump is going to win Pennsylvania in a walk if Joe Biden only gets 50 or 60% of the black vote in the Keystone State. It's over. It's over before it even began. Michigan, similar story. Biden, 55%, Trump, 15%. In Michigan. That's massive. It's absolutely massive. It sounds to me like some black Americans are tired of being lied to. And can you blame them? I certainly can. I'm tired of being lied to. But I've never been taken for granted by the Democrat Party like they have. And there's consequences for all of this, right? 538. Which no longer has Nate Silver. Nate Silver pieced out of there, I want to say, a year or two ago. I think he got laid off. But 538, one of the country's most cited political prognostication websites, is now predicting a Donald Trump win for the first time since they've been keeping track of the 2024 contest. Donald Trump now wins 50 out of 100 times. They run different scenarios to see who might win. Biden, only 49 of 100 simulations. Something's happening out there. We've been telling you this for over a year. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a lesbian space witch wizard to be able to see it or hear it or perceive it. I can't create a force baby, Andrew, but I can tell you that something is happening out there with our fellow Americans. They are upset, and rightly so. And one of the reasons why Donald Trump is having so much success, I'll play it when we come back from this break. It's because Donald Trump is doing what Republicans so rarely have done. He's showing up. And I get it, right? Like sitting here talking to you as a white Republican, I've been called a racist without justification more times I can count. Because I've ever done anything racist? No. It's because that's how they try to shut down debate. The left accuses you of being guilty of an ism, right? Sexism, racism, homophobia, whatever, right? Xenophobia. And once they tag you with that, they're hoping they cow you into silence. Now, of course, that doesn't work on Donald Trump because he doesn't care. And most of his supporters don't care, could not care less. And part of it's because it is, and you've heard this before, it's hard to hate up close. When someone's actually showing up and you see that they are not the monster that they are being branded as by self-interested opponents, anything's possible. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Donald Trump's trip to Michigan and whatever else we can fit in hour number 2 of the Matt Rooney Show. 855-839-1210 is the number. Back in a second. Don't move a muscle.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. Our next Talk Radio 1210 WPHT Politics and Pints. I'll be hosting #1 international best-selling author, Navy SEAL Jack Carr. That's right, June 25th. Tuesday night, June 25th at the Zlock Performing Arts Center, Bucks County Community College in Newtown, PA. Tickets are on sale now, and they will sell out. Go to 1210WPHT.com and get your tickets. And I want to see you there. And if not, remember, I got a guy, and he's a Navy SEAL. See you then.
Hi, this is Joe Medercher, PNC Bank Regional President. What's important to you? What drives you? What do you want your wealth to do? At PNC Private Bank, we call that your why, and we want to understand yours. Maybe it's creating a legacy, buying a home, or enjoying your retirement. Whatever your goals are, we'll work with you to build a personalized wealth plan to help you achieve it. So tell us, what's your why? To learn more, please visit pnc.com/privatebank. PNC Private Bank is a service mark of the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
We all know baseball is a long season. I'm Brett Boone from the Brett Boone Podcast. This summer, take a trip down memory lane with me and hear from the legends of the game. So far this year, I've had conversations with Randy Johnson, Pete Rose, Deion Sanders. Plus, every week we look at the state of Major League Baseball, which teams are exceeding expectations, which ones are struggling to meet them. Follow and listen to the Brett Boone Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Right now, someone you know is hungry. The Catholic Charities Appeal needs your help to provide hope to those in need. 1 in 5 people benefits from the money we raise. I'm Ernie Russum, Board President of the Appeal. Please donate at CatholicCharitiesAppeal.org.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Hey, it's Nick. Recently, I visited my friends at Piazza Mazda in Westchester to check out the 2024 Mazda CX-30. The dynamic CX-30 offers 8 different trim levels, creating a perfect fit for every lifestyle. When it comes to performance, iActive all-wheel drive is standard, and the available turbocharged engines pack a surprising punch. Safety features such as blind spot monitoring and lane assist led the 2024 CX-30, earning a 5-star overall safety rating. Visit Piazza Mazda in Westchester, Reading, or online piazzamazda.com.
This is Dr. Marianne Ritchie. Tune in to Your Radio Doctor every Saturday afternoon at 5 here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT for the latest healthcare news and information, because your health is your wealth. That's Your Radio Doctor, Saturdays at 5.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
Do you feel like you're going through life clouded by doubt?
talk to California psychics. Our trusted and accurate psychics are available 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers get 80% off their first reading. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? Do it today at 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
We're dumping a lot on the mouse tonight, Andrew. But Disney is still capable of proving, even over at its own studio, that it's capable of succeeding when they're not trying to trans kids. Have you ever watched Inside Out, the original, with your children? Amy Poehler is in that.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it with my kids, but it is not just because it's about hockey, but at the same time, it's also about it's a realistic representation of emotion.
Yes.
And how it works in the brain. It's phenomenal the way they put that together.
It's a very cool movie. Quick synopsis for those of you that have never seen it. It's got Amy Poehler as the lead. She plays Joy, who is the happiness emotion for a young girl.
Yep.
And she and some other famous actors and actresses voice different emotions. Sadness is Phyllis from The Office, which is perfectly past it.
Her voice
and it's about this young girl kind of going from being a child to being a tween.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. Definitely watch it if you get a chance. So now they're out with Inside Out 2, and apparently it's kicking butt at the box office, which Disney movies don't always, as a matter of course.
As of recent, no, they don't.
No, they don't. It opened last week, and as of its opening night, it was on pace for an opening weekend of about $150 million. Pretty solid by today's standards.
Pretty good.
And, again, I saw the first one, have not seen the second, so I don't want to make any official Matt Rooney movie recommendations for any of you out there. I don't want to be responsible for sending your kids into a Disney trap. But the reviews I have read had suggested that it's not woke. There's nothing in it that attempts to manipulate your child. So, look, the formula is not complicated here. Parents are still parents. There's some wackadoos out there. You see the videos online, right, where parents are taking their kids to drag shows that are absolutely adult in quality, right? And they're subjecting their children to things that are adult. But most of us still aren't down with that. Even some people who maybe don't want to admit in polite company that they're considering voting for Donald Trump this year. And nothing against drag shows, by the way. Somebody asked me this question recently, like, you're always talking about drag queens. I have nothing against drag queens, but it's adult entertainment, right? Like, there's a difference between going with a bunch of friends, right, and seeing a drag show if you're a woman, right, versus taking your kid to that, right? Just like there's nothing wrong with going to a bar and drinking so long as you're making the appropriate driving arrangements, and then taking your kid and sitting them alongside you as they watch you drown your liver in shots. I mean, it's sad that we're at a point in America where we have to explain that there's certain things that are not appropriate for children. And maybe it's because we have a lot of adults that act like children. Think on that for a moment. But let's back up for a second. I want to go back to Donald Trump and his recent visit to Michigan. Showing up. Let that be a lesson for everyone that's listening tonight, since I know some of you are candidates or helping candidates running in places in eastern Pennsylvania or South Jersey that are winnable for Republicans this November. This is Donald Trump, and he actually went to a black church, which aren't traditionally considered the friendliest of places for Republican candidates, and he drew a compliment from the black pastor of that church that I am sure made every single hair stand up on the back of the heads of Joe Biden's campaign team, because they heard this and they did not like what they heard. Listen to this.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Very humble, really nice. Thank you. My honor.
Obama never went to the hood. I absolutely love it. I love every minute of it. If I could take it in powder form and mix it into a glass of water and drink it down, I would. That's how beautiful it is. I'll tell you where Obama was. Obama was out in L.A. Reportedly, he raised something like $30 million, along with some Hollywood celebrities, for Joe Biden. I can't. It's one of the limitations of this medium. I wish I could show this to you, but I'll have to explain it. There's this one point at the end of the evening at this fundraiser that was attended by Julia Roberts and who's the idiot that's got the late night show? Jimmy Kimmel. Who used to have the Man Show.
There's a lot of Jimmys, though.
There's a lot of Jimmys, and, ever since Jimmy Stewart, they've all been morons, Jimmy Stewart being the exception. He's at this big Hollywood fundraiser, and Obama's standing on stage with his former vice president, now the president of the United States, and all of these rich, wealthy, beautiful people are cheering. And Obama has to take Joe by the hand at one point and lead him off stage. And the look on Biden's face, you may have had this experience recently, Andrew, my friend, since we both have toddlers, when your toddler is looking at something that they think is interesting, a balloon going up into the sky, maybe they're at the zoo and they see a monkey making a funny face, right? And they're like distracted, and you're like, no, come on, it's time to go. We're going to go have a snack. It's time to get out of here. And you got to drag them off the stage. That's what Joe Biden was doing.
Yeah.
And Obama's like, no, come on, Joe, time to take your medicine. Time to get in the car with Dr. Jill and go home and have your applesauce pouch. It's unbelievable. But look, I mean, we can make fun of Joe Biden for being senile and demented and going downhill rapidly until we're blue in the face. I could fill 3 hours doing it, and I'd enjoy most of it. Consider the contrast. Biden, Obama, mega wealthy donors and celebrities hanging out at this glam gathering out in Hollywood. Donald Trump in a black church in the Rust Belt with average Americans who are being left behind by those beautiful people. Is it any wonder why things are shaking out the way that they are? The Democrat Party has lost its way. But that's not necessarily something new. They're not just off the path now of righteousness and reality. They're completely out of their gourd, such that your average person, not just white voters, but black voters, Hispanic voters, they don't see anything in this Joe Biden campaign, this Biden administration, or Joe Biden's Democrat Party that they're rooted in or invested in or even recognize, because Joe Biden's Democrat Party isn't even trying to pretend to represent those people. Joe Biden is open about the fact that his core constituency are rich people in Hollywood and those in our various states across this glorious country who are doing well enough that, you know what, the fact that it costs $30 for a gallon of milk right now, it's not going to prevent them from going on vacation. That's his constituency. Got to pick which America you want to live in. 855-839-1210. I know what my answer is. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Hour 2, done. Hour 3 still lies ahead. Plenty more to discuss. Hope you're down for it here on the Matt Rudy Show. Back in a moment.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. I'm so excited to celebrate Father's Day this weekend with my kids. Have you gotten anything for Dad yet? Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com right now. Put in my name, Zioli, at checkout. You can get gift packages, mouth-watering gift packages for Dad starting at just $89 when you put in my name, Zioli. And if you're running late, if you procrastinated, Omaha Steaks has got your back. Send Dad a free surprise notification to his email inbox to let him know his gift is on the way. And every purchase is backed by the unconditional money-back guarantee, the best in the business. Mouth-watering, juicy burgers, steaks perfectly aged for 21 days. Dads love great food. I know, I'm a dad, and I can't wait to celebrate. 5 generations of family-owned American beef. That's what Omaha Steaks is about, and there's so many options to choose from. So go to omahasteaks.com right now. Put in my name, Zioli, at checkout. Get those gift packages for dads starting at just $89. And if you're running late, they'll send the free email notification. omahasteaks.com, promo code Zioli.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. June is Men's Health Month with Rescue Natural Supplements. Life is busy. It can be hard to focus on your health. Thankfully, Rescue Men's Health Supplements have the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that provide men with what they need. Rescue supplements can help boost testosterone, promote a healthy prostate, as well as support energy and vitality for an active life. And for the month of June, when you buy one of their Men's Health single bottles, you'll receive a second totally free. Just use the code STRENGTH for the buy one, get one offer. To order, call a Rescue Product Consultant, 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483, or shop online by visiting res-q.com. That's res-q.com. Discover the amazing benefits of Rescue Natural Male, Prime RX, Super Prostate, and more. Again, use that code STRENGTH for the buy one, get one free offer on Rescue Men's Health products. Shop res-q.com and do it today.
You've had nugs dipped in sauce, but have you ever had nugs covered in sauce? Enter Wendy's new Saucy Nugs. 7 saucy ways to enjoy the nugs you love. With flavors from buffalo to honey barbecue, garlic parm to spicy ghost pepper. No matter what flavor you're craving, Wendy's has you covered. With nugs covered in sauce. For a whole new way to nug, try Wendy's new Saucy Nugs today. Open till midnight or later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location.
I am a father.
I am a mentor.
I am a wife.
I am an artist.
I am a husband.
I am a friend.
I am a sports fan.
I am your neighbor.
I am a member of your church.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a police officer.
Support your local law enforcement officials. Sponsored by the Pennsylvania Fraternal Order of Police. Visit partnersinpublicsafety.com.
This is Jordan Lundy.
And this is Len Lundy. Lundy Law has won billions for our clients.
But more importantly, we've won the trust and confidence of thousands of people injured in motor vehicle crashes, slip and fall accidents, and work-related injuries.
My son and I hope we never meet you because of an accident. But if we do, we're here for you.
Remember our name, Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW or visit lundylaw.com for a free consultation.
I'm Michael Toscano. About 82% of the U.S. population is likely to experience temperatures topping 90 degrees this week. CBS Baltimore meteorologist Steve Sosna says this one has staying power.
This one is a marathon, not a sprint. Usually that first heat wave of the season lasts about 3 or 4 days. This one could go 7 or more days, and the second half of it really could be tough stuff in terms of those temperatures.
Crews battling the post fire in Los Angeles County have their hands full. CBS's Elise Preston is there.
Flames exploded overnight in the rugged terrain just north of Los Angeles. High winds, hot temperatures, and dry brush fueling what is now California's largest wildfire this year. Quickly, this fire went from 500 acres Saturday afternoon to more than 12,000 acres in a matter of hours.
And the fire now covers 19 square miles. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is said to be a contender to be former President Donald Trump's running mate a year after he said he would not do business with Trump. Burgum was on Fox News Sunday today.
Had a chance to spend a ton of time with him since January, and I wish every American could see him the way Catherine and I have got to know him in the last 6 months, because this guy is tireless, he's committed, he's smart, he's funny, he's nothing like he's portrayed in the press.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is criticizing the Israeli military's plan to pause the battle in Gaza along a main road to let more aid get in. Lucy Williamson of BBC News has more from Jerusalem.
This was a battle between rhetoric and reality in Gaza. The limited daily truce announced by Israel's army along a key aid route, triggering outrage from far-right ministers opposed to sending in more aid. The army's response: that the daily truce from 8 in the morning until 7 at night did not mean the fighting in southern Gaza would stop, only created confusion over what exactly was happening on the ground.
The United Nations says no aid moved in that area today. The investigation continues into a shooting at a splash pad in Rochester Hills, Michigan yesterday, a shooting that left 9 people, including kids, injured. CBS News correspondent Charlie DeMar has the latest.
A 9mm pistol and 3 magazines were recovered at the scene. Sheriff's deputies say the shooter had a history of mental health challenges and killed himself inside his home. At a news conference, the sheriff showed an image of a semi-automatic weapon found on the suspect's kitchen table. Detectives investigating his motives said he had no connection to the victims.
An 8-year-old boy remains in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hello there. Matt Rooney again on the Matt Rooney Show. Breaking down the week gone by to prepare you for the week ahead. Better than anyone else could possibly ever hope to do. Braggadocious, maybe, but it's also a statement of fact. We're proud of the product we put out here on the Matt Rooney Show, and we are even more proud that you think we're worthy of being the place to spend your Sunday night, especially Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Patriarchs Appreciation Day to all of my fellow fathers out there. Producer Andrew Torres included. We're important, men. We can't let them erase us as much as they may try. Things are getting a little crazy out there. It's not getting easier for those of us that believe in traditional values or at least aren't hostile to them, right? I say sometimes, and I think many of you out there in the audience can relate to this, it's Marilyn Munster syndrome. Have you ever seen the Munster show, Andrew?
I have. Marilyn
Munster. So Marilyn Munster is one of the characters.
She's the normal one
on the program. She's the normal one, and her family, they're monsters, right? And they're lovely people. They're happen to be lovely monsters.
I really like the show. Like my parents grew up like when we got like cable or satellite, whatever. We watched TV Land or like whatever channels had like the old shows and stuff.
Yes.
Munsters was real. I really liked it. I thought it was great.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
And one of the running jokes on the Munsters was that Marilyn, who is this very attractive, normal young lady, is the freak. Because everyone else in this universe of the monsters is a monster, right?
Right.
Them, their extended relatives that occasionally come and visit. I think as a normal conservative American that believes in, old-timey things like, there are 2 genders and it's good for kids to have moms and dads and, maybe we shouldn't be, convincing young children to consider removing their genitals when they're still developing because of a movie they watched on Disney Plus, right? I mean, there was a time when what I was saying right now may seem sensational, hyperbolic, just designed to get a rise out of you. These are things that are actually happening, right? So I always say that it's kind of like Marilyn Munster syndrome. We're stuck in this paradigm now where if you are a relatively normal person, the culture tries to make you feel like you are insane. Although you're not. You really aren't. If you're going about your day, working hard, you believe in a higher power, you're not covered completely head to toe in tattoos and piercings. Like there's nothing wrong with you. That's what I'm here to tell you. There's nothing wrong with being normal. And they try to make you feel weird in a million different ways. Like case in point, you're not heterosexual anymore. You're cisgender, right? Because again, they have to try to, in a clinical sounding way, make it abnormal to be what 60, 70, 80, 90% of people are. And of course, this wackiness is leading itself to plenty of insane outcomes. The only upside being that if you're a radio host like yours truly, it gives me plenty to talk about. Here's the latest. out in Los Angeles, which, I mean, is Los Angeles even America anymore? I mean, it's unrecognizable. I'd only imagine what Nixon or Reagan would say if they were alive today, to see what's become of what was once the state that embodied the American dream more than any other. You know, go west, young man. Not anymore. Not anymore. But here's a story from wokespy.com. Homophobic road signs removed from Los Angeles neighborhood. This is not, to be clear, this is not The Onion. This is not Babylon Bee. This is real life, folks. Woke extremists are celebrating after homophobic street signs were removed from a Los Angeles neighborhood. And by homophobic street signs, I mean street signs. And then there is a tweet in this article from End Wokeness, a very popular X account, showing a man, sorry to gender him, but it looks to me like a biological male there, Andrew, removing a no U-turn sign. So it's the U-turn arrow, right? And a big Ghostbuster-style prohibited sign overlaid against it. The signs in Silver Lake, which is a Los Angeles neighborhood, were apparently put up in the 1990s. Okay? This is what they're saying. To prevent gay men from hanging around a residential area following complaints from residents. They included no cruising and no U-turn signs, which would somehow prevent homosexuals from hooking up. Some of the no cruising signs were removed in 2011, according to NBC Los Angeles. However, after Los Angeles City Council member Neita Rahman heard about the signs in a podcast, she collaborated with fellow council member Hugo Soto Martinez to remove the remainder in a bureaucratic process. So they're removing no U-turn signs in Los Angeles because they are allegedly evidence of homophobia. Keep in mind, set aside the alleged history behind these signs and whether or not they had something to do with preventing gay men from meeting up and not valid traffic concerns. This is a city where even Hollywood celebrities are complaining is too violent and too riddled with crime to live there anymore. California, and specifically Los Angeles, is increasingly resembling the third world, in part because of rampant, unconstrained illegal immigration. Also, because California is lawless. It's led by insane far-left politicians like Gavin Newsom that think the criminals are the victims and not the other way around. I mean, there's been stories out of the Los Angeles County in recent weeks about how, back to our first hour of tonight's program, talking about electric vehicle chargers, they can't even keep the Tesla chargers because people keep stealing the copper from the charging stations. It's like, are you people serious? Are you serious? This is what you're worried about? Homophobic signs? When people can't even live in your city without fear? And yet, Democrats increasingly push back against Republicans invoking crime in the 2024 election by suggesting that it's some kind of dog whistle. It's an attempt to divide us by turning us against one another. No, we're simply pointing out that cities run by Democrats tend to be violence-ridden hellholes that are overpriced, overexpensive, and way too dangerous. And there's no excuse for it, or I should say there's no explanation for it, other than liberal policies stink. They don't work. They make people poorer, less free, and more subject to really bad people, in this case, criminals. But by all means, let's get rid of the traffic signs that we don't like, that we think are mean or nasty, or maybe didn't have some kind of alleged dark history from many decades ago. This is kind of like Pete Buttigieg talking about racist infrastructure. Remember that? We have to get rid of the bridges that aren't high enough because they're racist. Andrew's looking at me like I have 16 heads. This is a real thing, Andrew. Racist infrastructure. You can look it up on the interwebs. You can Google it.
Well, yeah, because everything on the interwebs is honest and believable.
Yeah. NPR, a brief history of how racism shaped interstate highways. This is why black men are starting to go towards the Republican Party, folks, because Democrats are worried about imaginary problems from decades ago, in order to embitter people and divide them and then conquer them and get them to vote for them. Conservative politicians are focused on, hey, you know what are the policies today in 2024 that can make people, again, richer, freer, more able to have access to the American dream? It's not a difficult choice. At least I don't think it should be. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, Andrew. 855-839-1210 is the number. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Give us a like. That's where we stream the program every Sunday night. You can also participate over in the comments. I said in the last hour that it's insane that we have to tell some Americans in 2024 what's appropriate to do with a kid and what's not. I said, you're not going to take your kid to a bar and do shots with them, right? Whereas there's nothing wrong with doing it by yourself so long as you're not going to go get rip-roaring drunk and drive. Mango Mush says, Matt, my dad brought me to a bar often. I loved it. Get hamburgers, hot dogs, free shuffleboard, and everyone gave me quarters to play the bowling game. I'm not saying you can't get taken to a bar, Mango Mush. I grew up in Oakland, New Jersey. We used to go as a family to the Oakland Manor Bar. They had the most amazing cheese fries you could ever imagine. It was that thick orange gelatinous cheese that they would pour on the crispy, greasy French fries.
The closer I've gotten to 30 years old, the more I realize certain things change about yourself. I never used to be lactose intolerant.
Now you can't eat cheese fries.
You got to be careful, man.
God, think your ability to metabolize certain things.
And living in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area,
yeah,
cheesesteaks, to me, the best pizza that you could find. It's hard, man. It's difficult.
I'm sorry.
It's. I mean, they have different things that you can take and stuff, but it's like.
Well, then you got to plan it out.
Yeah. You got to carry it in your wallet or your backpack or wherever you go.
Right, you have to medicate, or you have to be all right, am I within, 5 minutes of the commode?
Right.
If I want to enjoy that ice cream or that Philadelphia-style cheesesteak.
Ugh, man.
I'm sorry. Thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.
If there was a Facebook skin that I could overlay against my profile photo to tell you how sorry I feel for you. It starts your ability to taste things starts to change in different ways too as time goes on. I will tell you what's happened to me in the last few years. My taste buds have changed. I have to have spicy.
You have to have spicy?
I put hot sauce on everything. Yeah.
Indian food? Are you I know it's not for everybody, but
I don't love Indian food, but it's not because of the spicy.
Uh-huh.
I just don't like the taste or texture. But it doesn't have to do with the hotness of it. I went to a really nice Indian restaurant recently because I'll try everything once.
Sure.
And it just didn't do anything for me, and I can't really tell you why.
What'd you get, if you don't mind my asking?
I couldn't even tell you what it was called. We went with a few couples.
Okay.
And the one who is well-versed in Indian food did all the ordering.
Oh, yeah.
And we also had this very nice waitress who she loves the food there. Mm-hmm. She works there.
Very patient, explained everything.
And she's like, this is what I recommend for you guys since you're beginners. It wasn't terrible. I didn't, vomit it all up in the parking lot or anything. It just...
That's good.
It didn't... Yeah, that is good, right? When you pay that much money for a meal if you keep it down. But
yeah.
Just,
yeah.
No, it didn't really do much for me. But it wasn't the spiciness. But yeah, I put hot sauce on everything. I have 3 or 4 different types of hot sauce.
Yeah. You get those little pack things from Taco Bell. You got to keep them when they give it to you.
Oh, I would, yeah. I also get Hank's hot sauce.
Okay.
Which is a product of the Jersey Shore, actually. Shout out to a New Jersey company.
There you go.
Absolutely delicious. It's hard to find it, though.
Yeah, it's not everywhere.
If you're in South Jersey, like the west side of South Jersey, you got to go to Arnie's.
Okay.
Which is a butcher in Cherry Hill.
Okay.
They carry Hank's.
Nice.
It's all over Cape May County.
Oh, yeah, the closer you get to the beach. And
it's down there, yes. Because I think originally they were based in Seattle or something like that. But, yeah.
But to go back to your original point, it's like my mom used to take us... I was homeschooled growing up. And so one of the things that my mom used to do all the time to kill time was take us to the library. And we, be on the computer, get whatever books, look at movies back when Disney was good and all of those things. Like, it would be insane to think about. You were talking about drag shows and different things that they have for, and they call it drag show story hour for kids. And it would be insane to look back 15, 17 years ago when I was a kid and my mom used to take me to the library to see that kind of stuff. It's just unthinkable.
It's unthinkable and how quickly it all happened.
Yeah.
Because we're letting the inmates run the asylum. Back to my point about Marilyn Munster syndrome here.
Right.
We have to kind of take things back for the normies, folks, in 2024. And as I have said many times, I am not a hateful person. I don't have hate in my heart for anybody. If you are a adult in this country, and you want to live life in an aberrant way, so long as you're not bothering me or my kids, your rights stop at the tip of my nose. That's the classic expression, right? God bless. You want to dress up like a pink dinosaur that identifies as a Batco, and you are sexually attractive to refrigerators, okay? And you're voting for Cornel West this year. All weird choices, but God bless. I don't want to see it in my kid's classroom. I don't want to be forced to watch it. I don't want to be accused of being a bigot because I don't want to indulge it with my vote, with my tax dollars, with my time. Tolerance is, and this is one of the most misunderstood concepts in our society, tolerance is not me validating you. I have no obligation to validate your weird decisions. I only have to tolerate your exercise of your rights as an American, even when I don't agree with them. So if Andrew comes out here on this show and says, Matt, I think anybody that loves hot sauce as much as you do is a homophobe, right? It's a ridiculous statement. Has no grounding in reality. It's clearly just designed to shut me down because of his unnatural loathing for hot sauce in this scenario, right? But he has every right to say it. I have to tolerate it, but I don't have to agree with it. But that's one of the many problems with the left. They are not tolerant. They do not exercise true tolerance. They do not tolerate anyone that disagrees with them. They are not okay with it. They don't exercise the principles of pluralism. You have to not only be okay with their lifestyle, you have to impose it upon your children. You have to take it into your heart. That's what Pride Month's all about. If a bunch of lesbians and gay guys wanted to march down the street, right, wearing normal, appropriate clothing, holding signs saying, we love the Obergefell decision, we're glad we can get married, completely uncontroversial to the vast majority of people in this country, you know? But no, you want to walk down the street as a man with your rear end hanging out, dressed in like leather bondage gear, gyrating in front of children, right? Marching next to somebody that is a dude who thinks that they're a woman that identifies as a unicorn, that's sexually attracted to toasters. Like, no, like that's not something that my fealty to the Constitution demands that I accept. Complicated? I don't think so. You don't have to love everything I'm saying right now, but I'm just hitting you with reality. That's what we do here on the Matt Rooney Show every Sunday night. 855-839-1210 is the number. Plenty more to cover. I'm going to get to as much of it as I can. That's my promise to you that I make good on every week here on the show. Remember, 855-839-1210 is the number. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Let's play some ads, make some cash. Back in a moment.
Summer savings at Hessert Chevrolet. We're rolling out incredible savings on top Chevy models, Silverado and Trailblazer. Drive home a new 2024 Silverado with 1.9 APR for 72 months, up to $4,500 off MSRP, or a 2024 Trailblazer for $299 per month for 36 months. Don't miss out on these special offers here at Hessert Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit HessertChevrolet.com today.
Your way or no way at Hessert Chevrolet.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, Stephanie from Emmons. Are you not loving your bathroom? Is the King's Throne looking a little outdated and run down? Let Emmons Design Specialists design a bathroom that you will love and one that Emmons will redo in as little as 1 day. An affordable, maintenance-free bathroom with little to no inconvenience to you and your family. With finance options available, there's really only one problem. Your bathroom will be so nice, your king may never want to come out. Call Emmons today at 856-885-6677 or visit us on our website at callemmons.com.
Pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, or back that won't go away? Check out QC Kinetics. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. QC Kinetics, 215-999-3000.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
In West Philly, thousands are participating in one of the nation's largest Juneteenth celebrations. 2 Philly cops are on administrative leave after shooting a dirt bike rider in Fairhill. Margate police say they plan to start fining parents of unruly teenagers.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, Ambler. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Follow us anywhere on the free Odyssey app.
Here's something that's going to blow your mind. The first presidential debate is a little over a week away, June 27th. I got to tell you, and I mean, I'm speaking as someone that's got not just a political talk show, but also SaveJersey.com, where I hang out during the week, a website that covers New Jersey public affairs. So you would think that I'd be happy about having a summer that's full of political news instead of some time off. But part of me thinks it hasn't been good, right, for our society that there's never any time off for this stuff. Do we really need to have a debate already? You know, can't we wait till September before we watch Joe Biden making a fool of himself on the stage? I mean, maybe it's a good thing, right? Maybe it'll bake in America's impressions of a president who is failing us and needs to go. But I don't know. I mean, I have trouble getting excited about it. I really do. But it's coming up on June 27th. So I guess next week, Andrew will have to do a preview of the debate. We'll get some people on to help us break this down. It's going to be an interesting one for sure for a number of reasons, including the fact that apparently CNN is going to mute mics. This is something that's been discussed in past debates where there's going to be certain moments where if candidates are stepping over the line, right, refusing to allow the other person to speak or going well past their allotted time, they may have their microphone muted. Do we trust CNN?
No.
To enforce this equally?
Who did, like, when everything is up for interpretation at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Red lights visible to the candidates will flash when they have 5 seconds left and turn solid red when time is expired. This is according to Yahoo News, by the way. And each man's microphone will be muted when it is not his turn to speak. So apparently, microphone muting is going to be an option this time around. So you can imagine how this is going to play out, right? Joe Biden is going to be saying something wildly inaccurate about Donald Trump, about him being a racist, a homophobe, whatever other lie we've seen peddled out there in the ether over the course of the past several years. And Donald Trump will not be able to jump in and correct Joe Biden. Now, I have a feeling, I have an inkling, right? Because I wasn't born 5 seconds ago, that we can expect that you're going to have some moderators feeling liberated to correct Donald Trump when they think that he's wrong. I have to be honest with you. I'm not sure I agree with Donald Trump accepting the invitation of these networks to do these debates. I know that the popular opinion out there is that Joe Biden, because of what we see every day on the news, him falling downstairs, him looking like he doesn't know where he is, that he's going to be such a disaster on the debate stage that it can only benefit Donald Trump. Well, the American people are already seeing Joe Biden degrade before their eyes. So what are you possibly going to show them in a debate that they're not already seeing? If anything, you run the risk of Joe Biden having a lucid day, which still does not make him more appealing than Donald Trump, but it might if the mics are muted, right? I'm sure they can inject his rear end with enough vitamin B shots to get him through a debate. They did it last time. They're going to try to do it again. More on that next week on the Matt Rooney Show. 855-839-1210 is the number. Here's a little local news for you this evening. We've covered on the program, and I know it's been a hot topic on 1210 WPHT for obvious reason. There was a lot of unrest down the Jersey Shore over Memorial Day weekend. Multiple boardwalks had experienced violence, reports of shootings that may have happened or didn't happen. There was a stabbing. We saw these images of tweens and kids stampeding off the boardwalk to get away from it all. Total mess. And this isn't the first time in recent history we've had young people acting a fool down the shore. So one town in Atlantic County is trying to take the proverbial bull by the horns. Police in Margate, this is according to ABC6 here in Philadelphia, are going to issue tickets to parents of unruly teens. According to ABC, the city already forbids children under the age of 17 from being in public places between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless accompanied by an adult. Fines facing parents will range between $100 and $1,000. Check that out. I'm all for this, by the way. I am all for this. I generally don't love the idea of an expanded police state and just making laws for the sake of making laws. But one of the greatest challenges of our time is the collapse of the responsibility of parents to actually parent. It's an appropriate conversation for Father's Day, right? Your kid is your responsibility. And I understand one of the challenges in our modern age is that companies like Disney, who we talked about in the first hour, right? Or the state through schools, right? Which we've talked about in the second hour, trying to influence your children, manipulate them. They make it harder than ever to parent. I get it. I'm a parent. I'm an uncle. I see it every day. But it's still fundamentally your responsibility to make sure that the young men, the young women that you are attempting to raise and turn into dutiful American citizens, that they make the right decisions. And when they don't, depending upon the context, you may bear some of that responsibility. You should know where your 16-year-old is. And I'm speaking as someone who was once 16. I get it. But you got to parent. You got to parent. So we'll see how that turns out. And it's only a matter of time before those tickets start crashing down on parents' heads. And I guess it's what needs to happen. It's what needs to happen because the government isn't going to raise our kids for us, or if they do, they're going to do a really poor job of it. We see how that's working out. Parents need to stand up and they need to take charge. Back to the national scene for a second here, with this debate coming up right around the corner next week, June 27th. I talked a lot about polling earlier in tonight's show. Trump improving overall, Trump improving with black voters. Here's one that may surprise some of you. Trump apparently is doing really well with young voters now. Really well. That's according to not a Rasmussen poll, not a Fox News poll, New York Times polling. According to the most recent New York Times survey, voters between the ages of 18 and 29 prefer Joe Biden by just 2 points, 47 to 45%. I'm going to repeat that for a second. Voters 18 to 29, Gen Zers, prefer Joe Biden by only 2 points. There was a Q poll, in case you think that was an aberration, that also recently came down that had Trump beating Joe Biden among voters ages 18 to 34, slightly different demographic group there, 48% to 4%. Wild, absolutely wild. So this would be the first time if it happens, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Donald Trump wins the youth vote, that'd be the first time that it happened since 1988. That's when, for those of you who are not old enough to remember, George H.W. Bush beat Michael Dukakis. The last time there was a true landslide in this country. Even Obama 08, I mean, it was a decisive victory, but it wasn't a true landslide. 88 was the last time we had a landslide. I'm not predicting a landslide. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to win, 40, 45 states or anything crazy like that. So don't try to hold me to it because I will rewind this tape and point out that I denied it. I'm simply saying that all of this polling suggesting something that happens, at this point, we can assume it's more than just statistical noise. There is movement in the electorate. Now, earlier tonight in the chat over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, I apologize because I always want to attribute. One of our listeners said, well, listen, do you really think these people are undecided that are showing up in these surveys? Do you really think there's anybody out there whose mind can truly be changed after 2016 and 2020? Here's what we often forget. There is a valid choice other than door A and door B. It's abstention. I think there are some people that can be persuaded. Yes, they still do exist, believe it or not. It may seem crazy to you and I because the choice seems so obvious, but they're out there. But a lot of people are just going to make a decision that, hey, listen, I voted for this guy last time. I don't think it was the right decision. I'm going to stay at home and sit on my hands. How do I know this? Not only from experience, not only from analyzing all this stuff. I know these people in my own life. You probably do too. Who, for whatever reason, even though they benefited from Donald Trump's policies, they don't like the orange man, right? They think he's mean. They don't like the tweets, whatever feeble excuse they have not to support him. And maybe they voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but they're not going to do it this time. And you're going to see some of that in states like Pennsylvania in 2024. And in presidential elections, where it's decided by only a handful of votes spread over several states, it can and very likely will make the difference in who occupies 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue come January. But this is a big one, Andrew. We'll see if it actually comes to pass. Trump, if not winning, coming close to tying the youth vote.
You see a lot of things like on the internet. There's a lot of other smaller media outlets and different things where, a lot of people will go to colleges, and they'll maybe not debate students, but they'll have intriguing conversations. And a lot of times you see at the end of those conversations, the people end up having more common ground than not. And I think that that's definitely something that you can see slowly but surely, what you were talking about with the change of the guard, so to speak. with you were talking about the black community and how they vote, and the young people how they vote,
right?
And I would agree with what you said. In 1988 when the first Bush won, is it going to be something like that? I don't think so. I think we kind of saw in 2020 how things affected, how the news kind of affected how things were in that election. I don't think it's going to be as dynamic, where Joe Biden, he has, the amount of votes that he got and all of that stuff. But I do think we are going to see a bit of a change where so many of these demographics that for the longest time, you were talking about generation after generation, voted for Democrats, voted for the political left, voted for a particular way, they're starting to change course. They're starting to make the switch to the other side, the Republicans and conservatives. So
if you see a changeover with young people, it may be because, and this has been trending this way for years now, conservatism is now the anti-establishment ideology.
Yeah,
right?
Because the opposite is the establishment ideology now.
The opposite is the establishment ideology, and there's been other polling, and I was just looking for it a second ago, and I can't find it. We talked about it maybe a month or so ago. There's polls that show that there is a pronounced trend among young males towards conservatism. I wonder why.
I have not the slightest idea why that could be.
Could it have anything to do with a culture that tells you that you're evil, you're a natural predator,
you're
that
toxic?
You're right, you're toxic, your father's an evil patriarch. The only way to redeem yourself is to emasculate yourself, either in a metaphorical way or literally, right? Snip, snip. That's the only way that many in that toxic leftist culture believe you can redeem yourself as a man if you cease to be one.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you're leaving them with no other option. Because if you're talking about how men, particularly young men, are toxic and they're a part of the problem, they're this and that, and then you hear the other side where you're talking about how we need to lift up men, we need to encourage men, we need to do the opposite of what the other side is saying. It's not. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out where they're going to be drawn to.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Andrew, that the left is giving young men, black America, Hispanic voters, especially those that came here the right way, right? Worked hard to get into this country. Working Americans, by that I mean those that are actually impacted by market forces, They're giving them no choice. It's not as if they're just not providing a viable, interesting alternative to conservatism for them. They're not even pretending to care anymore.
And the crazy thing
they're
is,
pushing them.
And the thing is, they're still playing. They're being shocked. It's like, well, I don't understand why all these young people aren't voting for us anymore. It's like, well, you're literally shooting yourself not just in one foot, but both feet, because you're pushing this narrative. And you're basically attacking all of these people that are a part of a certain demographic, but then you're going to turn around and complain and be like, I don't understand why they're voting that way. I don't know what happened.
And here's two clips which illustrate what Andrew and I are talking about. And I want you to compare these and see if they inform what you see happening out there in the polling. The first is a report, and this is something to look forward to in this upcoming week because it's always a hellscape when you live in Joe Biden's America. According to NBC, Biden is going to announce a new amnesty proposal in the coming days, as early as Tuesday. Here you go. Listen up. This is cut 1.
And new this morning, multiple sources familiar with the White House's plans tell NBC News that President Biden is set to take executive action as early as Tuesday to protect hundreds of thousands of undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens from deportation.
Executive action this week, when every single poll shows that by a wide margin, Americans not only oppose unrestricted illegal immigration, but they also support mass deportations of people that came in illegally. There was a recent CBS News poll. New national program to deport all undocumented immigrants, because they call them undocumented, right? Because if you commit arson, You're not an arsonist. You're not a criminal. You're an undocumented fire starter. But set that aside for a second. Among registered voters, 62% favored mass deportations, only 38% opposed. Could you be any more tone deaf? Could you be any more out of touch with reality than proposing this at a time when every indicator suggests the American people are heading in the other direction? Maybe if you're at a multi-gazillion-dollar fundraiser out in Hollywood with Jimmy Kimmel and Julia Roberts and Barack Obama, you think something like this sounds like a good idea. Doesn't sound too hot to anybody else. Let's contrast that with Donald Trump's latest campaign promise. This is cut number 10. Donald Trump is driving the left nuts by promising to pursue an end for tax on tips that servers receive.
No tax on tips, okay? It's done. Done. And we need to spread the word so that every time you leave a tip for the next 5 months, you put on the receipt, vote for Trump because there's no tax on tips. No.
No tax on tips. I love it. Now, listen, I get it, right? Let me put on my neoliberalism hat here for a second for my fellow conservatives. I get it, right? Traditionally, we have supported a flatter tax code, right? Creating carve-outs for people, rich, poor, in between. Is it the best tax system? Maybe not. But at a time where Bidenomics is forcing so many Americans to make horrendous decisions, are we going to keep the electricity on? Are we going to get groceries this month? Donald Trump's decision to pursue ending the taxation of gratuities in this country, you may not love it as economic policy, but it is incredibly smart politics. Because those are the people that are furious and feel disenchanted and completely disconnected from the Joe Biden liberals. That is evidenced by that amnesty executive order that's coming down this pike this week. They've evidenced time and time again they don't care about the working class in this country anymore. Black, white, rich, poor, whatever. Just 2 clips that tell you the whole story. That's why what you're seeing happening in the polls is happening. 855-839-1210 is the number. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. Give us a like if you haven't already. Let's take one more break, and then we'll be back to close out this edition of the Matt Rooney Show with a bang in just a second.
This is Jordan Lundy of Lundy Law. When we say we hope you're never involved in an accident, we mean it. But if you are injured in an accident, we'll work quickly and tirelessly to get you the maximum compensation you deserve. And when we also say we only get paid when your case is over and you get paid, we mean it. Remember our name, Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW or visit lundylaw.com.
This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. You may know me from my book, Money Hacks. You may know me from my radio shows, and you may even know me from some of these commercials. But listen, I'm teaching stuff that people need to learn about money. In fact, my favorite topic is money. So go to investorschooling.com and you will learn things about money that you never even knew existed. We will teach you things about real estate, about the stock market, and about how to use your IRAs properly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. That's investorschooling.com. This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Are you tired of hearing about the recession that's coming? Are you prepared for it? Well, listen, at investorschooling.com, we're going to teach you ways to prepare for the recession that you didn't even know existed. We're going to teach you strategies on how to use real estate. We're going to teach you strategies how to use the stock market properly. That's right, you can even make money in the stock market when the stock market goes down. Hey, go to investorschooling.com and register for a free class this Thursday night, and you will learn all of these techniques. Go to investorschooling.com right now, RSVP for this Thursday. We'll see you there.
Don't miss Good News in Real Estate with Deanne Katsaros and Mark Cumberland, Saturdays at 1 p.m. Find out all you need to know about home buying and selling. Considering a career in real estate? Visit PhiladelphiaRealEstateClasses.com. Good News in Real Estate, Saturdays 1 p.m. on WPHT.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Get bonus days to save during Window Nation's semi-annual sale now through June 30th. Get 50% off all windows, along with no interest for 5 years. Plus a bonus 10% savings when you schedule an estimate. If your inefficient windows are costing you too much for air conditioning, that's a big deal. Now during Window Nation's semi-annual sale, you can replace them and save a big deal too. Offer ends June 30th, so schedule your in-home estimate now. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. I'm so excited to celebrate Father's Day this weekend with my kids. Have you gotten anything for Dad yet? Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com right now. Put in my name, Zioli, at checkout. You can get gift packages, mouth-watering gift packages for Dad starting at just $89 when you put in my name, Zioli. And if you're running late, if you procrastinated, Omaha Steaks has got your back. Send Dad a free surprise notification to his email inbox to let him know his gift is on the way. And every purchase is backed by the unconditional money-back guarantee, the best in the business. Mouth-watering juicy burgers, steaks perfectly aged for 21 days. Dads love great food. I know, I'm a dad, and I can't wait to celebrate. 5 generations of family-owned American beef. That's what Omaha Steaks is about, and there's so many options to choose from. So go to omahasteaks.com right now. Put in my name, Zioli, at checkout. Get those gift packages for Dad starting at just $89. And if you're running late, they'll send the free email notification. omahasteaks.com, promo code Zioli.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Hey, Percy, we know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Remember to take us anywhere with the free Odyssey app.
In case you were wondering how they were celebrating Father's Day, Andrew, over at the Associated Press, here's their big story. On Father's Day, this LGBTQ plus couple celebrates the friend who made their family dream a reality. It's about a sperm donor. Now, I don't think anyone involved in this particular story is a lesbian space witch.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's not. It ain't that freaky. But look, you know, I've said this before. You know, I'm a family attorney, among other things. I'd rather have kids in a loving household than not in one. If that happens to be 2 dads, awesome. But again, it's the war that these people wage on the 80-90% majority, constantly trying to make the rest of us feel weird and trying to remove our agency as people, as citizens, as parents. That's what's so objectionable. And that's what should irritate you, regardless of who you love, to accept the Obergefell formulation of it all. As the Matt Rooney Show winds down, make sure you stay tuned after our program for the Walter Sterling Show, which is coming up here in just a few minutes. Walter, for those of you that missed last week's program, was in studio here in Philadelphia and personally appealed to me / upbraided me in a friendly way for not pitching his show consistently. And it's not because we don't love Walter's show. It's just because I'm always trying to cram in as much stuff as possible that I don't always remember to say it. So I don't want Walter to fly back to Philadelphia and yell at me. So please stay tuned for Walter's show when we're done here on the Matt Rooney Show in a short time, okay? Make sure you stay tuned. Do we have time for one call? I've neglected the phones all night. But I have to get to somebody so I don't make a liar out of myself. Let's go to Alex in Swarthmore. Alex, you are on the Matt Rooney Show, you lucky duck. Only call we took all night. Welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Right. I know time's of the essence, so I'll try to be succinct. First of all, I do like Walter Sterling. I think he's got a great show.
It's quirky and it's fun, right? It's a little different.
It's good for that time slot. It is.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, first of all, let me qualify this by saying no one's a bigger Trump supporter than me. I wrote him a letter in 1992 after Bill Clinton won, so I was so disappointed in who had won the election that I wrote Donald Trump. And I said, why don't you run for president? And he wrote me a nice letter back. He said, maybe when the time comes, I may step up and do it. And that's why when I saw him on CPAC back in 2010, I think it was, I said, this guy's hitting all the conservative points. He's great.
I don't know if you're on X or any of the social media platforms. I'd love if you take a picture of that and share it. Black out your address, obviously, if it's the same place you live now. But that'd be really cool to see. That's an heirloom.
Yeah, because I just thought that he had a certain character that was interesting. Now, as far as will he win? No. Now I'm going to tell you why he's not going to win, aside from the fact that the deep state will do anything to prevent it. You don't know how crazy these people are, or maybe you do. But I'll tell you what's going to go on. I think when the Democrats get to the convention, they're going to do a switcheroo and have Hillary as Biden's running mate, and then he's going to hand it off to her when he wins. She'll be the president. Now, the reason for that is because he can't win on his own. But I still think she is popular enough with people that think that she should have won in 2016 that they'd come over and say, let's give her a hand. We voted for her in 2016. She got cheated, they're going to say. Let's vote. And then so on that ticket they'll win. Then Biden will hand the presidency over to her. And that's my theory.
Intriguing theory, and it's one I haven't heard yet. But here's what I'm going to say, Alex. The one part that I'm not following is your suggestion that there is a latent portion of the American population that feels more favorably towards Hillary Clinton than they do Joe Biden. I think it's arguably true that as much as I've come to appreciate Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton probably is the only Democrat he could have beaten in 2016. She was so uniquely reviled by middle America. So I'm not sure adding her to the ticket helps him. In fact, I actually think, Alex, that the reason you haven't seen a switcheroo up until this point is they can't find anybody that measurably polls better. I mean, you can't go to Kamala Harris, right? And Gavin Newsom may appear more photogenic, but we talked a lot about what's happening out in California tonight. The minute you get beneath the surface of what's happening out there in what used to be the Golden State, now it's a hellscape. I don't know how electable he's going to be. I don't think that there is any salvation for them this time around. They have to either once again smear and lie and do everything they can to try to take down Donald Trump and see if Joe Biden can literally fall across the finish line or accept defeat.
Well, I think that a lot of people voted for her in 2016. It was a close election. And
sure, she won the popular vote.
And I think that she's, I don't know. I for instance, my sisters love her. I mean, I've not anybody, aside from most Democrats, I don't hear anything negative about her. It's, as far as a conservative, I can't stand her. But I think that it's Biden is not going to. Yeah, I get that. Now, I know that's a crazy theory, so the only way, again, that it can be proven is after it happens. I can call up and say, remember me?
Well, listen, I mean, you were already ahead of the curve with wanting Donald Trump to run for president. So who am I to question Alex from Swarthmore at this point, right? With that kind of evidence in your disposal. Alex, don't want to cut you off, but we're coming up here in the end of the hour. I want to thank you for calling in to the Matt Rooney Show. I get where he's coming from, but Hillary Clinton might be the one person that's worse than Kamala Harris for Joe Biden to run with this time around. Can you imagine an older, less likable ticket that more epitomizes the swamp? Andrew, you can't see right now because there's no producer cam tonight. He is actively shivering. And they're thinking about Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden running together. So I'd actually encourage that. Maybe I'll head out to the Democrat convention. If I can get through all of the anti-Semitic protesters to get into the convention hall, I'll tell them that I think that that's a great idea. We're out of time, though, on the Matt Rooney Show. Back next Sunday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. Thank you to producer Andrew. Welcome to the program. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. Until we return, stay safe, stay sane, and keep fighting for this greatest nation in God's creation. It's worth it.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth. And if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS has raised the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes in recent years. This hits hard if you're behind on your taxes. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. If you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Lexus of Cherry Hill, a 6-time J.D. Power dealer of excellence for customer service. Why would you buy your Lexus from anyone else? The 2024 Lexus models are here and moving fast, and the newly redesigned 2024 Lexus GX has arrived. Tony Labello and his team are your source for the Lexus of your dreams. Over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles in stock. You deserve a Lexus and award-winning customer service. Start your journey with family-owned and operated Lexus of Cherry Hill.
For J.D. Power dealer of excellence information, visit jdpower.com/US-DOE.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
In West Philly, thousands are participating in one of the nation's largest Juneteenth celebrations. 2 Philly cops are on administrative leave after shooting a dirt bike rider in Fairhill.